3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to episode 153 of Ruse Radio, folks. We are back at it again with a very special guest. Usually we got comedians in his house. As of lately, I'm trying to get anybody up in here, and we got just about anybody. We got a filmmaker. I don't know what other monikers you have on your belt. You're a filmmaker first, but you probably got other things you do. It's very special guest. Introduce yourself to the people, sir.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Alex Perez. I'm a local Chicago filmmaker. I also have a company with my buddies that I started a couple years ago called Kino Crew Productions.
Whoa. Kino Crew Productions. Insert the John C. Reilly mind-blowing gif right there. What is the name of that character? Fucking the John C. Reilly thing. Do you know what his name
Steve
is?
Brule.
Yeah. Legendary.
Might as well be part of Kino Crew.
Yeah, we're hiring. Kino Crew. How did Kino Crew start, dude? Because like you're obviously like one of the founding people, so one of the founding fathers. So you were there when the inauguration happened,
Yeah,
the first ever inauguration when the Constitution was written.
The sacred texts were written.
The Masonic temple was assembled.
Yeah, the what's it called? The burn the effigy.
Yes.
The Kino Crew effigy.
Yeah.
So that started. So went to Columbia College. A filmmaking college in Chicago.
Cool.
And that's where I met Josh Weitzel. And Josh Weitzel is a film buddy of mine, and we had been making shorts together back in school. And during that time, we also met Nathan Olker, who's another filmmaker. And he is a guy that wasn't going to Columbia, but we met him just through mutuals. And we'd been making shorts together for years now. They're all like low budget. More often than not, they're comedy shorts.
Okay.
Or they'll skip genre. They'll be like comedy horror shorts. And we made a bunch of shorts under different company names for once in a while. Like Nathan had a company called Rust Belt Productions, and that was a lot of short comedies that we all helped shoot and work with him on and act in. And then for a while, me and Josh made some shorts as well under a company called Arcade Video Productions. That was like a YouTube channel.
When you say shorts, you're talking like 5-minute videos? Like what?
Yeah, they would change. Like some would be like really quick, like 5-minute clips, and then some would be like short 10-minute clips, or they'd be like longer short narratives. So we've been doing it for years.
Okay.
And then eventually we were like, let's make like a real big boy company. And Nathan had already done that before, because when he was doing the Rust Belt shorts, eventually he started doing shorts with my brother, and they were called the Burnout Boutique shorts.
Okay.
And there was that recent show that Tim just did, the Gorilla Taco Party show. He screened some of the Burnout Boutique shorts. We must have done, God, I don't know, maybe 30 or so videos for that specific channel. And of course then we started doing even more shorts, and then eventually we were like, hey, let's like build a company together that's just us three, so we can have something like an umbrella to work under. And that's kind of how it all came about.
Okay, so it's like you had all three already happening, and then now we can just Avengers Assemble.
Avengers Assemble, yeah. We put our rings together. And we were like, let's make a company. And of course, we would just bring a lot of the same folks we've worked with a billion times in the past together to work on stuff. And this is we started officially in 2020. I'm terrible. It should be like 2021 was officially the start of it.
It's like 4 years ago now. It's crazy to think about, right?
That's that's a whole high school education right there.
Yeah.
It's been that long, and now we're kind of we've got all these projects in development. Now we're kind of slowly starting to roll them all out.
Yeah.
Which is it's been very fun. It's been very rewarding. And yeah, that's kind of where we all started.
Interesting. Yeah. And so like how does that provide, like, so with having like that group of people, like, does that make it so you can easily, like, any concept you have for a short film, immediately you've got all these people at your disposal, like,
pretty much,
rather than having three separate groups? Now we're all together all the time, kind of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes things easier, and also we all bring different things to the table.
Right. Because I mean, that's kind of any good creative relationship. I feel like you want to have strengths that fill in each other's weaknesses, right? Like I should be able to provide something to you that you can't provide for yourself, just like you could for me, and that's what makes it a symbiotic thing.
Exactly.
Like we can both work off of each other.
It's beautiful. We kind of kick it off like, I'm having trouble with this, but it's more of this guy's thing or this vice versa. It's awesome. It's nice. It's healthy. We'd all worked on projects for ourselves, but also everyone's taken time to work on other things on the side, and we all kind of just got sick of working on stuff that was someone else's project that sucked, or the experience wasn't necessarily ideal.
Yeah.
And then we were like, you know what? Let's just like make our own shit, and then we became even more selective with the projects that we wanted to take on.
So there's like more of a screening process through it for the ideas, even.
Yeah, even that too. I mean, like we just like more along the lines of like who we want to work with or what we want to work on. So like, growing up or doing like, when I was in college, I would hop on almost anything. Like, oh yeah, I'll go do that. I'll go key grip in another state for like, a couple months and get paid shit. And sometimes it's fun. It's going to be a learning experience, but oftentimes it's like, where are these projects and they end up somewhere and you're like, oh, that wasn't very good.
Yeah.
But now it's, I'm a little bit older. We're all a little bit older. And, everyone still has a semblance of a day job. So we still manage to like get through the day and still have time for like our creative output, so it's like we're in a healthier, better place than kind of just chasing the next gig, which not to knock it, if you're out there and you're gigging, or if you're like a union cam op or anything, or like a key grip, stick with it, keep going. Some that's not for everybody. If you want to move to LA, feel free. Not necessarily something I wanted to do. I definitely didn't do it. But to each his own. Everyone's journey is different.
Well, I gotta imagine there's probably a lot of that, like a lot of opportunists in that world where it's like, if I could get anything, then that's better than nothing. Or if I can get in, even like people, excuse me, even people who are trying to be in a certain world in that industry. So say I want to be an actor. Say I want to be somebody who's a writer. You might think that, but you might for some reason think, well, it's better if I'm in the movie world at all than if I'm not. So I'll just take this job being the guy holding up a light in the back.
Exactly.
Or I'll be an extra. And then you just become the guy who's an extra.
Yeah. Which, not to knock it, but also if you're like, hey man, I got a hard drive filled with scripts and I watch all the behind the scenes. One day I'm going to make a movie. I just need to do another couple years of fetching this.
That can happen to anybody. I mean, that can happen to anyone. I mean, talking to comedians all the time, I mean, it's cool to me because I think it's cool to ask them, like, so what was, like, the first time you did comedy? Like, what's that like? Like, what's the first, when you first decided you were going to do that? Because I think those questions are kind of, it's like, what's the jumping off point? Like, what makes them flip and then decide I'm actually going to do this rather than saying I'm going to do this? Because for everybody, it's different, Like I'm sure if I asked you, like, what made you want to do film? There's like a whole reason you're interested in film, but there's also like at some point you decided I'm going to actually do that, and then that's part of your history as a human being. It's just you have to do shit. You have to.
It's like I have to. It's like becomes like it's the drive.
Yeah.
The hunger for it.
And you have to kind of prove to yourself that it's real too.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I'm doing the real thing. Everyone's always saying that they're suffering from like imposter syndrome.
I think so. I think there's a lot of that.
And people are like, "Oh man,
I have to imagine actors have the worst imposter syndrome ever.
I'm gonna go ahead and say probably, most likely, yes.
Their identities are just fucking destroyed.
Well, also it's like if your identity is based off having a fluid identity for work,
right?
That's fucking shaky business there, because it's just like
you're a professional sociopath.
Exactly. It's like imagine Gary Oldman. And he's just like who is the real Gary Oldman? He's like, I don't know. He probably doesn't know. Who knows? Poor guy in his villa or whatever he lives on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, luckily I've never really suffered from that. So I mean, that's good. Unless maybe I become incredibly rich over something stupid.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh man, really? Got Gobblehead movies? They got me all this money, which I'm not gonna turn away. That's fine. But at the same time, I get it. But yeah, I don't have that
Cruise up in
problem.
a Lambo with Gobblehead, baby.
Well, it's like kind of like Lucas, right? He's like, really Star Wars. That's what I'm famous for.
Yeah.
Maybe he wanted to be famous from THX or something. But
I have to imagine, like, maybe it's this weird thing where, he probably just didn't expect it to be such like it would probably, he had just made an independent movie right before Star Wars that did well. So he's probably thinking like, wow, not even my real shit. Like,
he's probably the first Star Wars was probably like his version of selling out.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess I'll make some genre crap. Yeah. And it'll be kind of even better because I'll just lay with all these subtextual layers and then it blew up, and he's like, "Oh fuck!"
Now I gotta do 7 more.
Now he wakes up every morning, and he's just like, "I guess I'm kind of L. Ron Hubbard now."
Yeah. Poor guy in his villa or wherever he is.
In his villa.
The problem with someone like George Lucas is that this guy always knew he was a professional mind blower. He always knew that he had it in him. He had the soul. He had the vision. And for some reason, it was the most commercial of his products that had the most success. It was the most by the book that had the most success. And you can become a victim of such a thing. You can be a genius and end up in a position that you feel like you don't belong in. That might have been what happened to him. But you know what? I think the only way out of that is to continue with your mind blower ways, to continue professionally blowing minds over and over and finding a way to do it. Never, ever sell out, okay? Never, ever sell out to Disney, the devil, Satan incarnate. Disney, I love you. Walt, I'll have you on the podcast, but we're talking about our professional mind blowers right now. That's right. I gotta love them. I think you guys are professional mind blowers. I think we're all capable of blowing minds. The question is how, and you can figure that out. Seriously, we all are capable of great things. That's why I love doing this podcast. I love bringing people in and learning about the ways that they look at the world, because that blows my mind. The amount of perspectives that exist, it's pretty much infinite. It feels like it never ends. So shout out to all those professional mind blowers we've had in this room. I think they all deserve one of these t-shirts. We've got smalls, we've got mediums, we've got larges. We can make more sizes if you so please. $25, that's shipping included. All that stuff. If you want to get one of these bad boys, the information is in the description. Great way for you to support this show, and I need your guys' support to keep this thing moving. So say you want to support it, but you don't want a t-shirt. Well, don't worry. There's this little thing called Patreon. That's right. $5 a month, the price of a coffee, the price of a beer at the bar, and you make this show grow. You make it bigger and better. You watch us go to the stars. You watch us become a constellation. Whoa, written in the stars, a million miles away. Please join our Patreon and pay $5 a month, okay? And guess what? We've got exclusive stuff on there. We've got exclusive podcast content. We've got exclusive music. I'm talking songs that are only going to come out on the Patreon. And also, third, I drop my songs there early. So before everybody else hears them, you can hear them. And that is on the Patreon. These are just perks to give you incentive to support this thing. Seriously, if you're watching this, I appreciate you. Any support at all, I appreciate. Just the fact that you're giving me any of your time. Seriously, thank you for being here. If you really, really, really want to make this thing bigger and better, I'm telling you, the Patreon's the way to do it. Just a small fraction of you guys, if you did that, you would change my life. So seriously, consider it. I appreciate you. I thank you. I thank you a million times over. The last thing I want to tell you guys about is Roast Battle Chicago. I will be performing on May 1st. I'm going to be rapping at the very end of the show. It's going to be super awesome. I'm going to find a way to spit some bars about those roast battles, and I want you guys to see it. Witness greatness. Witness history live and in person, in living color, in Chicago at Zanies. That's right, Zanies. The comedy, one of the only true comedy hubs here in Chicago. Gotta love Zanies, gotta love Roast Battle. Keeping the scene moving. I really do appreciate what Roast Battle's doing. Super awesome stuff. They are highlighting talent. They're forcing talent into a position, backing them into a corner in which they have to be creative and use their wits to get out of that corner, to shine. I think that's the type of situation that creates diamonds, the type of situation that forces people to come up with their best moments. I mean, you need something unique, something something to push you, and Roast Battle's there for that. And they're kind of the same idea as this podcast in the sense that they're trying to highlight the Chicago comedians that you might not already know, the talent. They're trying to put it in front of you and curate it all into one space. And again, to force that creative talent into creative situations. That's awesome, and I love to see it, and so I'm super excited to work with Roast Battle. Super awesome stuff that they're doing, and you're going to see something super awesome on May 1st. If you can't make it there, don't worry. I've got a million more shows coming your way. 2025 is just the prequel, boys and girls. Now let's talk a little bit more about imposter syndrome. But yeah... No, I don't think I've ever really had an imposter syndrome thing either. But I don't know if that's because I'm crazy or not. Like, I don't know if it's like actually crazier to believe in yourself. You know, that might actually be the crazy thing.
I think that is the crazy thing. But that's the good crazy.
That's what you want.
That's what you want.
I think so. I think you got to surround yourself with good crazy, like people who are just crazy enough to believe in themselves, because like it's a radical vision no matter what you're doing. In most creative fields, like filmmaking, oh my God. I can only imagine like that. It's kind of why you have to set your sights right. Like, you know, how you have to pick what you're going to do and not do a million other gigs. Because like if you want to be a director, you have to like become a director. You have to learn what that is, which is so different than doing a bunch of like side odd jobs that people are doing in that industry. But that's like, there's only so many directors. That's, you know, there's probably so much competition that you might as well get started now. Like if you want to do that, you have to become really good at it.
Yeah,
you know,
everyone's trying to knife each other for the next job or something.
Yeah, I mean, kinda. I mean, that's every industry. I mean, like rap. There's only so many rappers. There's only so many comedians. That's why an open mic is like, you know, you see people who are like call themselves open mic comedians, and then you'll see people who call themselves comedians, because like it's like a different, if you're actually getting booked, that's different than if you're just doing open mics. And how you get booked because it's competitive, so you have to be better than these other open mic comedians to actually evolve like a Pokemon out of that. like it's crazy how competitive things are if you're just trying to, because you could just, when you start, you're probably just doing it for fun, and then you realize, oh my God, like I have to fucking be really good at this, or I'll just get money off Gobblehead. There's actually no real answer. It could be anything.
There's yeah. I want to be a Gyarados. I'm not a Gyarados yet. Yeah. Like the other thing is that there's just a bunch of stuff that people just don't want to do.
Like what?
Well, it's like, for instance, like people set very specific expectations for themselves, and that's fine. Like, there's a lot of guys that like, I want to be, you know, I want to be Scorsese, or I want to be Ari Aster, or I want to, you know, like I want my name up in lights, that kind of deal. Or they're like, you know, I'm gonna make it to the Oscars one day, kind of thing. That's fine. That's okay. I think I learned a long time ago that I care more about just making the thing and having fun.
Yeah.
Than I mean, which sounds like fruity and stupid, but also it's like, you know, hey bro, you still want to make money? It's like, well, I didn't not leaving that part out. I still want to be able to like make a living doing it. And a lot of people don't like the making living part of it. It's like, you know, for instance, I'm a big fan of schlock. Like, I love that.
Okay.
So, like, you know, movies that could be considered not great, like B movies. Nobody ever really wants to make those. I think they're having more of a comeback now, because people are really into, like, old, weird, bad shit now.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, but nobody ever really wants to truly make those movies, because they, you know, oftentimes they're cheap, they're made quickly, and oftentimes they're made as just work. People are just working. But there's a way you could still kind of express yourself artistically in those. Yeah. Like, that was one of the big things when we were founding Kino Crew Productions, is that, like, everybody wants to be Martin Scorsese, nobody wants to be, like, Roger Corman.
Well, I was going to say, when we were talking beforehand, I was saying, it wasn't you that I saw, but it was someone on a podcast from Kino Crew Production. I just can't remember. Can't place the name.
That was Josh.
It was Josh, okay. Yeah. And he was, it was just a clip that they had posted about, like, he was basically saying, like, you know, people don't appreciate the B movies. Like they don't appreciate the bad movies.
Yeah.
Which is like, people will just hear that movie's bad. They don't want to watch it. Like, which is like, the basis of it is that those movies are valuable. Like that was the core idea of the thought, and which is I didn't realize it was so integral to your entire thing.
Yeah. I mean, we still want to make. I'm sure we want to make some indie masterpieces, but for the most part, like we watch Freddy Got Fingered like every year.
Well, and I think that like
even though that's a masterpiece, don't get it twisted. We love Tom Green here.
I feel like there's a lot of those movies where it's like it's culturally great, not because it's great, and it doesn't have to be a great movie, and like there's a lot of music that's like that where it's memorable not because it's the best song of all time, but because it's just a song. It's just a fun song. Like there's like joke songs. There's bad songs. There's songs that are just bad. Like there's pop music from like the 2012s, like 2010 to 2015, like that era of pop is like it's a certain type of corny. Like it's not what it kind of evolved out of that. It changed over time. It evolved into that. But I mean like that was a certain time for pop music. And when I listen to it, I don't exactly like it because it's good. But I don't even necessarily like it because it's nostalgic. Because I mean, I was younger when I heard it the first time. But like Katy Perry and like I Kissed a Girl, Katy Perry, like that song's not good, but it's good, And like I think there's a whole bunch of that where you just have to at least appreciate it for what it is. Even like the fact that you can have a feeling when you look at it. Like if a movie's bad, okay, so why is it bad? Like what are you seeing that's bad?
Exactly. It's like a learning experience.
Yeah, and not everything has to be Scorsese, like amazing. Like some things are just bad, and that's fun. Like it's fun that it's bad.
They just exist. And plus, anything getting made after like seeing how movies are made and working on movies, anything getting made in general is usually kind of like a fucking miracle.
Yeah, right.
Those things are like
the stars have aligned.
The stars have aligned just for them to be able to make their one day of shooting, because there's just all these variables that are fucked.
Yeah.
Just to get one thing made, and then they finally get it made, and it's like, hey man, we finally finished. We've officially wrapped Leprechaun 3, and it was an amazing experience, and we made our days, and everyone's getting paid.
I mean, like, how many miracles do you think are required for a full production? Is it like a million miracles?
Yeah. So it's like, it's timing, it's scheduling. It could be a bunch of things. Weather. Does the crew gel well together? Is there enough money to finish shooting? There's all these like elements. That's why I'm like sometimes I wish that I was like just like a different kind of artist. Sometimes like maybe if I was a comedian, there's still pressure, but I don't have to worry about 40 people showing up on a specific amount of days to make this one specific thing. And then have to work on that again for a little bit longer, and then have to get it sold and picked up, and then make sure everybody gets paid on the back end or whatever. There's all these other elements, and then like there's such more of a singular artistry to maybe approach something as like maybe a novelist or like a musician. Those are still disciplined fields, but when it comes to filmmaking, it's the rewarding part is that it's a collaborative process. The toughest part is that it's a collaborative process. So you have to like work with everybody.
Yeah. I mean, like, I've seen, because like Joe Rogan's podcast, biggest podcast of all time, and it's 4 people that run that show. Yeah. And I've seen him say like he'll go to other podcasts and it's like a whole team of people. Because in the comedy world, podcasts have become this big thing. So people will treat it like a production. They'll have like 20 employees, 30 employees. And like he's looking at this like, why are you hiring all these people? Like, you don't have to do that. And like in my mind, this would be so hard. What we're doing right here, if I had to hire one extra person, that would throw a whole cog in that wheel. Because I can schedule these any day, whenever. I just send people a full availability. We just make it happen. If I had one other guy that I had to deal with his schedule, I'd be like, oh, fuck. So you're only available what days?
Fuck.
At what time? And like immediately
you have a fucking peanut allergy, dog? Oh, dude.
All I eat is peanuts.
All I eat is peanuts, dog.
So like, and it's that problem times 100 when you have 100 people. Like it's that over and over and over again, because
it's like insane people will do that. Like
it's insane.
It's insane people.
It's actually a miracle, because like to to get even like 5 people all in a room all at once, like, you know, we all have jobs, because the thing is, we're not talking about like big filmmaking where this is your job. You're getting paid a good amount to be here. You can feed your family off this.
Yes.
That's so different than saying like, hey, this is like an independent movie. Like, I need you to take a couple days off of work.
Yeah, bro, can you do me a favor? I need you to drive this truck here.
Yeah, we need your truck.
And it's like, it's difficult to get...
Your truck is the only way we'll get this done, please.
We really need you to bring your dog by, dude. The German Shepherd fits the exactly kind of dog we need. Oh, we got to take it to the vet. You know, it's like, oh, fuck, dude, how can you do this to me?
Could you reschedule, please?
It's
I'll
hard enough
pay
to-
you $20.
I'll pay you $20, bro. It's hard enough to get people together for like a fucking pizza party.
Yeah.
Because there's always gonna be like that one guy like, hey, bro, I just stay late for work. I ate bad guacamole and I can't stop shitting.
Always.
There's always like, there's never gonna be like that one thing you put together like, wow, everybody showed up and the nachos are out and it's working out perfectly. It may be like the one shining time that'll happen.
Yeah.
But
And I feel like
Yeah.
a lot of movie production is filling in the gaps, right? Like when a problem rises, how do we
unfuck this?
Yeah, in the moment.
Yeah, that's most of it is that. Well, I don't want to say that. That's a large chunk of it.
Well, yeah, it has to be. Because, I
It's-
mean,
how to
because of those variables, because anybody can just not, especially in independent filmmaking, you know? If it's, when I was in Flint, I'm in Chicago, it's different because I'm from Flint, Michigan. When I was doing podcasts there, so many more people would just not show up. They would just cancel. They would like last minute be like, hey, like I'm not going to make it. And I just think it's like a mentality thing because it doesn't really happen here. But in Flint, it happened a lot. Maybe it's a rapper thing. I had a lot more rappers on back then.
Yeah, bro, I can't come. I'm too faded.
But I mean, like, it's just, even that, it's like it throws a whole, so what do I do now? You know? And if you're filming a scene and like that's your makeup guy, okay,
Yep.
Makeup guy is not here. What do we do now?
It's like, fuck, someone did. Hey, who's got a purse?
Yeah.
You got makeup on you?
Yeah.
You're wearing it. Come over here real quick.
Or I guess like say like the thing you planned for special effects doesn't look quite as good as you thought it was gonna look, but we only have 3 more days. Like we got no time.
Yep.
Like how do we make this look better right here, right now? Like that's probably another one that could. There's a million scenarios you could come up with, but that's why it has to happen.
It's good to surround yourself with like people that are good problem solvers that you gel well with, like Kino Crew. All 3 of us are pretty solid problem solvers, but also we do like an insane amount of pre-prep because also we kind of just want to be prepared when we get to set, not to totally be screwed.
Yeah.
But also it's like we vet, and the people we have around us are people that we want to solve those problems with, that aren't like, fuck, whatever, you know, just shoot it. Like, or just whatever, man, just cut that scene. I mean, we cut a lot of scenes, but also just like problem solving in general. You have to like, it's masochistic, this whole thing. You have to get a kick out of ending up in a corner and having to figure out how to get yourself out of it. I think that's a large chunk of it too. I kind of get a kick out of it. Like if we're shooting something, we're on a tight schedule and we're looking over the script and we're like, hey, you see this piece right here? How integral is this? Not at all. Just toss it. We'll work our way through it. And then you find out on the days what's really most important for the story as well anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, all that stuff is fun.
So
Problem solving.
A lot of stuff does get cut though, like last minute. You feel like even like on the day of, like you'll be cutting stuff
sure.
like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like some dialogue sequences. Like it's easier for stuff like, for instance, like a Gobblehead.
Okay.
Because Gobblehead is so
The critically acclaimed film.
the critically acclaimed film Gobblehead. Every piece of the story is incredibly integral. No, it's like that's much more like jazz than anything else. Because it's like we have a script. There's much more of an idea of what we want to do, but then also there's loosey-goosey elements to it where it's like, you know, we're not sweating too hard on those films, which is by design. Those Gobblehead movies are like, there's like a structure to them, but also they almost feel like parties because it's like we wanted to capture that feeling of filming in the backyard with your friends while making these movies. And then we'll still have people that like on set that are used to doing like industry things, and then they're on set and they're like, there's a lot of pizza and there's some people chilling over there and everyone's having a good time. That's why those are made like that.
Ah, okay.
So all the hard stuff is figured out before we shoot anything. So it's like the amount of pre-pro we do is insane. So it's like we know we need these specific things, these specific shots. Just get it out of the way, and then we can get to all the other stuff.
How would you like when you say the amount of pre-prep is insane? So like how does that, like 3 hours, like 4 hours, like scouting the spot, like setting the camera up?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm sure that's like just getting the shots down. That's probably a big part of it. What else? What else is pre-prep? Like, set, getting the set design all
Set
prepared.
design, all that stuff. Storyboards, backup plans in case things get fucked.
Yeah. So you like even prepare for such things. So like
We try.
beforehand, you're thinking,
Like
okay,
if this doesn't work out, then we'll have this as a backup, or like again, like you just said, like we'll get to location early, maybe as in advance as we can, and we'll do still frames of all the setups.
Oh, okay.
So we'll be like, oh well, we'll at least know the camera's going to be here, going to be there, going to be there, and then we'll figure out. Most of the blocking is figured out also beforehand with the actors.
Did you see recently when Gladiator 2 came out and the cinematographer was talking shit? Did you see that?
No.
So it was the guy who, or I think it was the director of photography who was talking shit. I can't remember who it was, but he like came out after the movie came out and said like, he was talking on a podcast, it was an interview or something, and he was saying like, yeah, I don't know, like the way that they shot the movie, like they did multicam. And so if you do multicam, you can't properly do lighting, you can't properly like frame shots, you can't properly plan anything right.
Yeah.
Because now it's like you're shooting with 3 different angles and it's really I think it's a time thing. It's like a crunch thing. Like they're trying to cut down on the amount of resources they're using.
It sounds
so
like
you're
that's
just
what-
doing 3 shots at once, and then you're rationalizing like, oh, afterwards the editor can just fix this. Like you're saying, oh, it's actually better for the editor because he has 3 shots to work with. When really, it's like you're actually and it was Ridley Scott, and Ridley Scott didn't used to shoot like that. And I think that's kind of what the cinematographer was getting at, is like this is like a new kind of filmmaking, and it actually makes us look worse. I think he was disappointed because he was like, this actually makes me look bad.
It's a shot like television.
He was trying to explain himself. I think that's what was going on. But people, like, I remember the reason I even found out is because the articles were saying, like, this guy's talking shit about Ridley Scott. Like, the guy from Ridley Scott's movies talking shit about him. Sort of. I mean, sort of he was. But, I mean, yeah, to me, that's weird because, like, in my mind, a film is... It's proper. Everything is planned. Everything's got to be planned. You got to plan every single shot. Everything's got to be
an
grand...
attempt at planning.
Hopefully.
Hopefully things go just as well.
Or even, like, as a director, though, it's your vision, right? So, like... if I'm going to shoot this, how am I going to portray it in a way that is proper? Like, there should be that element. Like, you should have a touch. And if you don't, like, you're not properly doing it. And so, if you're shooting multicam for a film, that's just so weird to me. It like boggles my mind. And that's a new thing that I guess they're doing now. I didn't know that was a trend.
It's like a save time kind of deal.
Probably. Well, that's my guess, is that it would probably be for utility's sake.
That's probably it.
And it's Ridley Scott. He's what, like 97? I don't know.
He's like, I don't give a fuck. If you see him in interviews, he's a spicy old man.
Yeah.
He don't give a fuck. He'll just be very matter of fact. Clearly doesn't care. There's things he cares about, sure, but for the most part, I think it's he doesn't give a shit. It's like Gladiator 2. Like, I've seen that movie. It's okay.
I didn't see it.
It's you know what it is? It's Gladiator, but just another one.
Yeah, okay.
It's the same shit.
Okay.
But I mean,
It's what we all expected.
it's what we all expected. Denzel's good in it.
Okay.
An interesting character, but really it's like, and that is sad though. It's like, yeah, multicam setup, we're saving time, but it's like, yeah, but this is probably ain't gonna win
No, there's no way.
cinematography anytime soon. So it's clearly like, he's working. He's just trying to churn it out, I guess, which is sad. You're a cinematographer. You get hired for a Ridley Scott film. You're probably like, here we go, let's go.
Yeah.
This is the guy that made Alien. And you look at Alien and like, that's like a masterpiece. And I think there was an issue on that, not an issue, but really that was much more of like Scott let the actors do their thing. He wasn't very hands-on with the performances in that because he was obsessed with the camera the whole time, cinematography. And now we get to this, and we're like, I don't even know how impactful he is with the actors on Gladiator 2, because he hires a bunch of heavy hitters, and so I would assume it's the same thing where he's just like, just do your thing. And then the camera, he's like, just set up all those cameras. I don't know what he was doing. What was he even doing on that set? He's getting his name on the movie, probably, but I think that might be what he's more...
Did he write the script?
Ridley? No, probably not.
Probably not.
Probably not. It was very much his name is on it, and it got made, and that's probably it.
Yeah,
which is too bad.
That is too bad. That is too bad. I bet that's like that's a weird trajectory to take as a director. I mean, like people. I don't believe Quentin Tarantino when he says it, but that's his whole reasoning for the whole 10 movie thing. Is that I just don't want to
like that multicam. Reading a newspaper in the back.
I feel like he could become a Ridley Scott if he stuck around long enough. Who knows? I mean, that's kind of the fear, right? Is you live long enough to become like to kind of play out your greatest hits, and then now you're just making
become
movies.
The machine.
Yeah,
basically.
I'm pretty sure when Quentin Tarantino's explained it, that's his reason, is he doesn't want to just be the guy who's trying his best when he's 95. You know, there's some guys who stuck around who still managed to keep a lot of. I feel like Clint Eastwood, he's still pretty respected in the movie industry. He never really lost that spark.
So that's the thing. I saw
which is impressive. It's crazy.
The court drama he did recently. It's like that movie's not going to change the world, but it's very solid. Like, it's pretty good.
I
think that's the kind of like a good standard to have. You're like, it's a solid movie, good script, good actors.
Yeah,
you don't have to like shoot for the moon always.
Well, that was the OG philosophy. That should be the philosophy. Is just make a good movie.
It's John Ford. That's very John Ford approach.
In this book, okay, so this book I grabbed right before we start here, Writing Screenplays That Sell. This book's written in like the 80s. And it's just interesting because like he's like praising like Karate Kid and like the script of Karate Kid. And like one of the things that that they'll lay out is like you need a script that's like just commercial enough to sell but also creative. And like it's kind of like saying how like it's starting to hint at the problem of like making something with like because there's only so much creativity you can have. The one big takeaway I got from this book too that blew my mind, and I feel like most people wouldn't know, is that when you're a screenwriter, you're not writing scripts so that these scripts get made into movies. You're writing scripts so that you can prove you can write scripts, so that way someone will hire you to write the type of script that they need. That's 99% of screenwriting is that, not actually like a creative process where you write a script from scratch and the movie gets made. That's like never what happens.
That's never what happens. Even back during the Hollywood Babylon, that wasn't even a thing.
Yeah, because like again, this is from the 80s.
Yeah,
Hollywood Babylon is what, like the 60s?
That's the old school.
50s?
That's like the way back in the day. That's like tap dancing, fucking Gene Kelly shit.
But even then, like
we're gonna sell this picture.
Yes,
we got Gene Kelly tap dancing for 20 hours, 20 hours straight.
Yeah, because who would not want to see that?
Who want to see it? it's the thing. It's like if you want full on 100% artistic merit, you do an indie film, or you find a studio head who's like psychotic that will be like, yeah, sure, I'm delusional.
Which is near impossible, though.
Near impossible.
That's near impossible. Because that's the other thing this book is saying is like it's trying to tell you like because I wonder how outdated a lot of that information was, because it was like saying like they're not going to read your script. Like you have to set, like it's talking about like sending out your script to people and how you get them to see it. And a lot of it's networking. It's not just like getting a random person to read your script. Like you call the office and you don't want to annoy the office. Like you don't want to annoy their secretary.
Mad.
Yeah. And it's just like the amount of politicking that goes into it is so much more than just, you know, like if you want to find somebody who's going to fund your movie, good luck. Like that's what's crazy is how the fuck are you going to fund this?
I think the trick is to find, like when it comes to shit like this, you just have to be able to find the art and the commerce. Regardless, it's going to be commerce.
Yeah.
Regardless, you are making a product. So again, we come back to Roger Corman, right? Who's just like, he's making products. He's trying to get these films sold. But his thing was always like, he'll include some thematic element in there to make the movie a little bit more than just a cheap commercial product, so that there's at least some kind of message buried deep in those movies. Most good movies, there's at least a theme. There's a reason to come back to them for
That's
some
another
reason.
thing that was in there, is that if you're writing a script, you want to have a theme. And that was something that really, it stuck with me, because I apply that to even songwriting now. I really think about that. Like, you should, I try to write songs thematically rather than just literally. Like, it should have a concept that you would feel when you observe it.
Exactly.
And that's actually what's going to resonate with you more so than even the things that are contained within it, is the overarching theme. Like, a movie could be about a dad and a son, and the son, like, you know, gets The dad does something to screw the son over, and the son has this anger with this dad, and that's the plot. But the theme is betrayal. The theme is like, and how you choose to focus on that. And then there's a tone that's separate from the theme. Like there's like all these meta concepts that are actually behind it. Yeah.
And that's most movies will have that for the most part. Even your shittiest basic blockbuster will be like, this is a goofy movie, but also it's an action sci-fi. But really it's about a father and his son bonding.
Yeah.
And it's like, most studio heads will at least be looking out for that. A lot of people aren't comfortable with they would call it the conformity to that kind of approach. I don't find it as big an issue. I feel as though you get into the film industry, you have to accept the fact that you are participating in something that is ultimately still capitalism. It's like the product has to be made. You try to insert as much as you can into the product, but you cannot turn it into your fucking baby.
Well, and it's so collaborative too. Like as you said with the aforementioned 100,000 people, you have to align.
Exactly.
So
you can't
that
take
too.
Sole authorship.
Yeah.
Become an author. Go write a book if you want sole authorship. If you're working on a movie, you're collaborating with a bunch of people. If you're lucky, you'll end up as like a Tarantino or David Lynch, where you bully your way to a position where your name is above the fucking title, and usually those guys will earn that because they're captains of those ships.
Yeah,
and that's usually that's earned, but ultimately that's a difficult thing. And even if you were to ask those guys, they would probably be like, "Yeah, we wouldn't have been able to get this done without this person, this person, this person, this person."
Yeah.
It's collaborative regardless. Everyone's trying to tell the same thing. So I mean, yeah, it's like, and my thing is that like if I had to like quit my job tomorrow and just become like a journeyman director, I could probably do it because I'd be less snooty when it came to stuff like, hey, do you want to film this like Sasquatch, the Sasquatch movie? The money's up front and just film it in like a couple weeks. And it's probably not going to be that great. I'll be, yeah, I'll try to do the best I can with it and then make it. I would have fun doing it.
Yeah.
And then probably try to insert a little of my sensibilities in there and then call it a day.
But like, no part of you thinks like, oh, wouldn't it be great if we had like $100,000, $500,000 budget for this Sasquatch movie? Like the things we could do if we had the, like I feel like even though it's fun to make that small movie and just do your best with it, there's still the temptation of like, oh, if only we could do more.
What would it be like if there was like if only had enough money to pull off this one specific sequence, it would make the film.
Yeah.
I think that's when people get their hearts broken on projects where they're just like, they pick a project and they're like, there's X amount of sequences in this film, and these specific sequences are why I want to do the film in the first place. Now we're on the day. Now we're a few weeks out. You're saying we don't have the money for this specific sequence. And then you just kind of see like the air be deflated from the person's love for the project.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's rough.
That's like the core idea, and it just gets swept. The rug gets pulled out of nowhere.
That's why you fall in love with it to begin with.
Yeah. And that's a lot of compromise. So you kind of can't, like, it's like a kill your darlings type of thing, where you can't get too attached to any.
You can get, it's the balance, right? You have to get just attached enough to want to see it through to the end, but not too attached to where you're blinded or blindsided by big changes like that. So
or even like, like little things like, oh, I wanted this person to be casted, but now it's this other, like, so this is who I wrote it for. So now like, that's gonna
like, fuck, I'm stuck with Chevy Chase.
He keeps falling.
He keeps falling. He's doing it on purpose to fuck with me. But no, yeah, it's like it's just a matter of concessions, knowing when to concede and knowing when to push hard, I guess, is like the big thing you hear.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the other thing.
Pick your battles.
Pick your battles. Know when to fight for something, but also it's like, if we're talking about budget too, I think I think these movies cost just way too much money. The best part about them costing that much money is that when the credits roll, they're long. So at least I know that all these people are working. What conditions is the work and how much are they getting paid? I don't know. But I think that the amount of money in the film industry towards these very large projects is like gross. I don't believe they should cost as much as they seem to cost. It's a bit insane. I think once they start making a certain amount of money with certain movies that have a certain budget, then suddenly they just get used to it. And then you've just got, imagine where that money could go if we're talking realistically. How much did that Avatar cost? It's like, why the fuck are we making that?
Yeah.
Who's watching it anyway?
But that's kind of like, how do you fix that though? Because if all of these people are thinking, what is the safe thing? What is safe to invest in? How are you going to convince them to make this artsy film that you want to make this movie that's an original concept, to make something that's, like even like original comedy movies, you don't see a whole lot of those get funded anymore. Like some break through the mold, but there's not a whole lot of original comedy. And also, like, now you have the whole issue with streaming services owning everything. So it's not even the same thing where you're selling it to a movie company. You're actually selling it to a streaming service. So how do you convince them that your thing's worth buying? Like, I think a lot of... But I guess that's even after it's produced. Yeah, so that's like, it's more about funding it. A lot of it, though, is that. Like, it's how do you convince these people to fund it, right? Because, like, I think the problem is the scales are just tipped so far in one direction that it's like... It was already starting to happen in the 90s and the 2000s, where it was like, we're already starting to be less risky. But now it's like you only see prior franchises. And like, I mean, a great example that most people can understand is like the Marvel movies, because people kind of are burnt out on it now.
Yeah.
And I think Marvel did that to themselves by going to these streaming services and doing all these shows and breaking their own kind of continuity rules they've created.
Yeah. Everyone's exhausted.
And everyone's kind of, because now I have to, it's like you're doing homework to watch movies.
Fuck that. I hate homework anyway.
Yeah. It's like, wait a minute. I don't understand why John Stamos is Mr. Fantastic right now. Am I supposed to...
What's going on? They shot their own foot off with that.
But I mean, just point being that, like, the fact that everything became... Like, this is where all the money's going. All the money will only go... And even to the point where, if you look at the schedule for a movie theater, it was like... I remember this was like a couple posts I saw online, because it was when the Avengers movies were coming out, I feel like. And it was like Avengers was playing 30 times at one theater, and all these other movies are playing once or twice throughout the day.
Making that money.
Because you got to rake in that money, dude. And
cash.
Dude, it's just like... Yeah, okay, that's cool, but at a certain point, like, this has got to be too much. And I think it happened. I think now, one thing I just heard, the Critical Drinker, he does a bunch of, like, movie critic reviews. Have you ever seen him on YouTube?
I'm aware of him.
He just was on a podcast called Modern Wisdom, and it was just interesting because he was saying how he thinks that Hollywood's turning around, and he thinks what's happening is, like, what you see coming out now, it was conceptualized and they started making it 3 to 5 years ago. Everything you see now is from 3 to 5 years ago. And you can kind of pinpoint that just by the way that they, like, the certain cultural landmarks they'll have in the movies.
Yeah.
And so he thinks that this is where they start to turn around and stop. And doing all this Marvel stuff and doing all these superhero movies, and he said that he thinks there's going to be video game movies next, which also just fucking pisses me off.
Kill me, dude.
Minecraft, that's probably the big test. That's probably our next big feeler.
Dude, that's going to be even worse than the comic book stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, dude.
It'll be somehow worse.
Somehow worse. My opinion, and this is, take it for what it's worth when it comes to video game adaptations, is that the more, like for instance, The Last of Us, excellent performances, well done.
That was another thing he cited for his theory why it's video game movies next.
But
yeah,
my issue is that The Last of Us game is in and of itself is a movie. It's a piece of art.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it can stand on its own. It's a testament to video games' ability to tell a solid story with good acting, good cinematography, actor blocking, and all that stuff. It's a testament to what games can do.
Yeah.
And you can look at the adaptation in two ways. It could be like, this is very, like, very honored to have our stuff adapted and turned into like this show where we could further make more money off the licensing. Or it kind of cheapens the efforts made by these developers, where they went ahead and went through all this effort to put this thing together, and now they're just readapting it again, why aren't they just giving Oscars to the fucking Last of Us game? You know what I'm saying? At that point, just do that. Like, I hope we get to a point where
the game's the movie.
The game is the movie, and people are like giving awards to. First, I don't give a fuck about awards, but at least the recognition.
Yeah.
To some of these video games, because some of these video games are like really good.
Yeah.
Like those, you already know. Uncharted, and the work that goes into them is insane. So I mean, maybe that'll happen, but until then, he's probably right. We're probably going to head towards that direction, which, you know, it is what it is. The money's going to flow where it's going to, you know, where people are most hungry for it. But
it's not gonna change things. That's the problem. Is it's just gonna prolong the issue of Hollywood not funding the right things. Because again, in the 80s or 90s, the problem was more like, how do I take this concept and connect it to these other movies? Like I said, in the book, he's talking about Karate Kid. So he's talking about how like Karate Kid's a good idea because like karate was just then, like there were karate films that were popular around the time, and like why that movie would sell. There was some reason for why Karate Kid was, but it's like now that's not what we're doing. Now it's like, oh, let's make Freakier Friday, where it's Lindsay Lohan and the other lady again. We just have the same people again, but we're just doing the concept again. Hey, how about we do a live-action remake of Lilo and Stitch, since The Lion King did so well, right? How about we do Lilo and Stitch now? And oh, remember when Cinderella did so good? Like, let's just keep doing that. It's just a whole bunch of prior things that already did successful that you could tell somebody, hey, please put money into this. We promise you it's going to do good. It did good last time. And like, I just don't understand how that can fail over and over and over again. Like, most people don't like these movies. It's just undebatable. Most people don't. And
most people don't.
Somehow they still keep doing it, and it blows my mind. And so I think the video game movies, it'll be the same thing. So far, it's been such a bad track record. Like, already so far, it's been so bad for most of them. I think Sonic somehow did okay. I think people actually didn't hate Sonic that much. The Mario movie made me so mad when they announced it, because it's just an example of the problem. Okay, so you're going to make a Mario movie, but you're only going to cast like super famous people who aren't even going to try to do the voices right.
That's how they sell it, though.
Exactly. And it's like, why not do a faithful adaptation of Mario with the OG voice actors? That would be so cool.
Or
you get the people from the games.
Italian guy to
or
do
an
the
actual
voice.
Or a guy who's not going to sound exactly like Chris Pratt sounds on everything else.
No, it's going to sound like Paulie from The Sopranos needs to be playing Mario. Yeah. That'd be great.
It just doesn't even make sense to me because it's antithetical to the actual idea that you had in the first place. Like, you're going to make a Mario movie, so make a Mario movie.
Yep.
And and they keep making these movies that are game movies, but really it's just famous people being the characters from the games, but they're not the characters from the games. Like, Borderlands was another like colossal failure recently because it's like, oh look, it's Borderlands, but also it's Kevin Hart. What are you doing?
They're just trying to bank, man. They just know that when people see the trailer, hey, I recognize that name of the movie. Oh my God, look at all the goofy stuff in it.
Yeah.
And then at the end, you just get this giant block text of just like, here are all the actors that are getting paid to be in this movie. That's why you should go see it. Look, Steve Carell is playing a toilet. Come check this out.
Steve Carell is Skibbity Toilet.
Skibbity Toilet. Finally, a Skibbity movie.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I just feel like it's so stupid because you could make good game movies too. You could make good ones, but that's not what's going to happen. No. That's just not what's going to happen. You could, like BioShock, you could probably make a very good movie out of the BioShock concept.
Yeah,
it could be really cool. You could make a good movie out of the Grand Theft Auto games. If you really wanted to take Grand Theft Auto San Andreas and make it a movie, that could be one of the best movies of all time.
Yeah.
Like that game and the story in it is so good. If you could find a way, you could even make it a trilogy. If you really want to bank, you could turn that into 3 movies where it's like he's traveling through these different states in each movie and shit. You could turn, because that game has like different phases. So like he just wakes up one day and he's in the South.
Maybe even a miniseries would be great too.
Maybe, but that's riskier because then you get into a whole bunch of different hurdles. I feel like.
Oh, I feel like because I have conversations like this a lot.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you know, God, they're fucking this up. If they only would take it as it was and try to make it, that'd be great. Never in a billion years has it happened, and then as soon as they announce they're going to do it, everyone's just like, they're going to fuck it up. Oh, bro, did you see they're finally gonna do an adaptation of this?
Nobody
this.
ever learns.
And then everyone's just like, oh, dude. And then the trailer drops. They're like, oh, dude, no. And then the movie comes down and bombs. And then they're like, now we're never gonna get an adaptation because the financiers are gonna be like, well, the last time we did an Uncharted movie, it was a piece of shit. Nobody went to go see it. So it's like,
Yeah. But is that your fault or is that Mark Wahlberg's fault? Is it Tom Holland's fault? Whose fault is it?
It's everyone's. I think that's a collective failure there.
Because they're hiring the wrong people. They're not hiring fans of the games. Like, I think that's what happens. Is it's like that screenwriter thing where they come up with that idea, but then they just hire a bunch of people who've just made action films. They never actually played Uncharted.
Exactly. And it's like, why would we do that? They'll play the game for like a day, and they'll be like, okay, I kind of get it. Yeah, I understand it. I played the game for a little bit, and I kind of understood what was going on.
But it's like, who are you selling this to? Who are you? Because the people who played the game go and watch it, and they're like, this is nothing like.
It shocks me. I'm just like, do you not understand? Like, they don't study the appeal. What they do is they get the licensing, then they lock down the actors.
Yeah.
Then they have their basic script put together, and then whoever's putting it together has to pitch it to like whoever's funding it, and then they're like, so really, we're trying to capture this element from the video game. Video game. Yeah, we're trying to like the game is like it's pushing boundaries in the terms of storytelling and acting. Game? No, this has got to be more like this movie. Yeah, that movie made a lot of money. Well, you see, these Uncharted games actually made a lot of money too. No, it's a game though. No,
yeah.
This should be a film like Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah. And it's like, Grandpa, that was a fucking amusement park ride first, okay? But that's just it. I mean,
these people think of every movie as two other movies that had sex and made another movie. Yeah.
That's how most movies are pitched.
Yep.
That's how anything gets made. The elevator pitch. What this really is this is E.T. meets Speed. That's brilliant. Consider it done, made.
But in that, especially if you're making video game movies, or adaptations, I could see how a whole lot gets lost. Even like in books, like so many books get adapted and they're just not. I remember as a kid, like I really liked the Inkheart books, and I was pissed when that movie came out. I'm like, this is fucking nothing like that book I read. Like I was like a 12-year-old, and I read that book. I loved that book, and they did not do it justice. And that was just the beginning of my quarrels with the movie industry. Movie
adaptations that totally let you down, like
but it's bound to in a way.
Stephen King's Dark Tower, they did that, and
a whole lot of Stephen King's.
He's not been very lucky with adaptations, to be honest. For the most part, he is. I mean, he's had a couple bangers that gotten made, but a lot of those bangers deviate pretty hard from his books anyway. Like The Shining. Ooh, it's like that's the first thing people think of. You're like, hey, the Stephen King movie.
Yeah.
Do you mean The Shining? It's like totally different movie than the book, and it's better. If something's going to deviate from the source material, I'd prefer it takes wide swings as opposed to like bullshit like the Uncharted movie. Like, people hate the Mario Brothers movie, the old school one.
Yeah.
Because it sucks. But also, the wide swings in that movie are insane. Like, absolutely mind-boggling. I'd rather be, like baffled and, like, entertained by how insane something is.
Yeah.
As opposed to them just, like walking through it. Like, yeah, we got Mark Wahlberg, Tom Holland, And it's like, what? Like, I don't even remember that movie. I couldn't tell you what happened in that film. I think at one point helicopters are carrying boats and the boats are firing cannonballs at each other. And I'm like, this is fun. I don't know if this is Uncharted at all. Maybe it is. I don't know. But, like, yeah, I don't know. When it comes to adaptation, it's tough. You'll probably get better adaptations on TV now, to be honest. You're going to get a better adaptation on television than you are in the movie theater. Unless you're working on something that's, like, so low budget that you're like, we just need 3 actors in the kitchen and maybe, like, a couple other scenes. But, like, if you're, like, dealing with, like...
Yeah, because there's that Fallout one. The people like that Fallout one, too.
Oh, that was... Apparently, that's the gold standard now.
That's what I heard.
I like Fallout. I'm not, like, a big, like, Fallout game fan. I've played some of the games.
Yeah.
But I was hanging out the other night with a bunch of big Fallout heads. And
heads.
They were all filleting that show. They were like, it's fucking amazing. And I was like, yeah, it was great, dude. I mean, it was filled with all, like, the little Easter eggs. And it was, like, its own story. It had things to say. It felt like it was built by people that liked the show, and it was produced by like what? It was like a Amazon Prime original show.
Yeah.
So it's like proof that things could actually get made through the machine, and it comes out the other side resembling the original source material and still having its own voice.
It needs to be studied. That whatever that is needs to be studied.
Yeah, it needs to be laid out on a chart. It's an anomaly. So I mean, that's fine. That's a different situation than The Last of Us, because Fallout is ultimately like, that is very much like you are involved.
Yeah.
You are making decisions, and the show is built around the fact that like they understand that experience and what people want and expect and what they don't expect. So I mean,
yeah,
I think that is going to lead. Stuff like that will lead the charge when it comes to like video game adaptations.
You're right. I didn't really think about that with shows versus movies. I think shows could do it better.
It's all about spreading the risk, right? So like financially, it makes more sense to do that than like we got to rent out all these different theaters and if it's going to go to theaters, it's got to have a giant fucking budget, just so people know how much we spent on it, so we know how much we have to make back, how much more we need to make.
And then and also marketing. The marketing is going to be completely different if it's going to theaters.
Oftentimes, that shit's most of the budget. They spam you with everything.
But it's not included in the official budget you see.
No,
which is the crazy part. So they tell you they spent 150 million, but actually they spent 250 million.
and that's the worst part. You hear stories about people finding out about that, like guys that are working on the movies. Like, wait, how much that went towards advertising?
Yeah,
and that's when they're expecting their checks.
It's crazy.
I mean,
and they have to do it. I mean, you have to spend a lot on advertising.
You got to get it in. You got to get it in people's brains. It's coming out. The market's oversaturated. There's too much stuff.
Yeah.
And streaming. I mean, like we're talking. I mean, hopefully things will start to shift where it's easier for people to break in and make a living doing that. But for the independent filmmaker in general, they lived and died based off those DVD and Blu-ray, well, mostly DVD sales. It's not even a thing anymore. It's not even remotely a thing anymore. I mean, I don't even think Best Buy carries
Same thing
movies.
with music. Physical sales are nothing now.
Nothing. It's gone the way of the fucking vinyl record. Where it's like, ain't that cool? I got a shelf for my movies.
Yeah, look at me. I got a VCR tape.
Yeah, I got a VCR tape, dog. I was kind and I rewound it. But it's it's becoming more niche. Hopefully there's a shift where it's a little bit easier for people to do that, but
yeah,
I don't know. We shall see. I'm kind of staying optimistic.
I don't know if it's like I don't know if it's like everything else like that went that way, where it's more so the problem is now figuring out how you make money in other ways. Because like in music, it's not even music sales. It's not even sales of your streams or anything. It's like other things now. So I wonder if like with a movie, it's actually not about selling the physical copy of the movie. Now it's like, how do I monetize my entire filmmaking process?
Yeah, pretty much.
Look, we'll give you behind the scenes content.
DLC for the movie.
Yeah.
You got to get a fucking buy all the plushies.
That probably is the solution. I don't even know what else you would do.
You literally just have to turn your piece of art into a whore.
Yeah.
Just to make the money back. Like we've got action figures and we signed a contract with Pops.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a pop of this character. My favorite thing recently has been the Terrifier shit, where it's like the dude made the movie on like a minuscule budget, made like a fucking massive ton of money back. And even then, he's still like, yeah, we're licensing out this fucking this character. I think that ultimately all it comes down to is gotta have a killer idea, a relatively modest budget with still a cool idea, deliver on what you're selling, and then have something that's marketable.
Yeah, I think I look at hip hop the same way, where it's like you could look at it as a problem of oversaturation, where anybody can do anything, and so it's going to infinitely get worse. Or you could think like there's going to be enough good ideas that are going to stick out, that are going to keep that creativity moving upwards and forward like it always has. And I think the latter is actually more likely. Like that's the more hopeful idea. Like there's always going to be a good filmmaker that somehow breaks through the mold. Like there's never going to not be a few directors who stick out above all the other directors and always make a great film. That's just going to happen. Like even in the commercial world, there's always going to be people who are truly artists first, even if the rest of that realm is infected with some type of virus. You're always going to have real art. It's never going to really go away. I feel that way. But you still need a bunch of us. So we still have to we need to keep this bad boy alive.
Exactly.
You know?
It's our duty.
We need to shoot loads.
We got to shoot loads. That's the next Kino Crew production around the corner.
I really like how there's like a wordplay in that. Like when you're shooting the movie, you're shooting loads. I really just enjoy that concept. Like,
and when it finally comes out, we'll be dropping loads. So it'll drop soon.
And by the way, when I'm saying all this, folks, it is just as bad as you imagine. They're shooting loads in the movie. That's what's happening.
This is indeed what's happening. It's a body horror romance picture. It is a short film that is... There's romance, there's horror, it's about addiction, but really we just wanted to make something really, really weird. And my buddy Josh, it was his brainchild, it's his baby, and it's very much feels like it almost feels like an after-school special about masturbation through the lens of like John Waters or like, it's bizarre. The story itself is pretty bizarre. I could probably go into the more finer details, but I think I just want to like let people see it as it comes out.
It's just such a great idea. I don't think anybody's done it before, right? It probably is one of those ideas that I'm
sure Josh Googled it, was probably like, hey, is there any movie about a guy that jacks off too much?
Yeah.
And I think we kind of nailed it. I think we might have actually cornered that
market.
They cornered that market.
Yeah. Because I think like when I saw the trailer, I think that's what I commented is like finally like a movie I can identify with.
Yeah, that was one of the better ones. I was like, hell yeah, let's go. This guy gets it. It's yeah, I can't wait to see it with a crowd. That's
so much inside.
I can't wait. Just
so many fedoras.
There's a lot of neckbeards up in here.
That would be awesome, dude.
We gotta turn the air on. It's a little hot in here.
We need to shoot loads 2, 3, and 4 right away. We found our people.
Like we did a small test screening and it was like it's a good sign when people are laughing constantly. And they can't get like, wait, quiet, you're gonna miss the next joke. Like it got to that point. So like, okay, so that's good. The concept is insane. I got a feeling that it's gonna play very well with an audience, which is always the best part. Is just seeing people lose their minds watching shit.
Yeah,
that's like my favorite part.
Well, because you can probably because you can like you can tell that the idea got across, right? Because with like an idea like that, it's kind of risky. It's kind of like, are people gonna get what we're doing here? Is this actually gonna? I know it makes sense to us right now, but when we film this and when we put in like days of work just to make this happen, is it gonna be worth it in the end? That's kind of the scary experiment you're playing on yourself.
We're playing a game here.
It's like Russian roulette.
Roulette with a loaded gun.
Because you might just be seen as a psychopath when you put that. Nobody laughs.
Well, someone at one point we had offered we were trying to cast the film and we offered it to somebody, and I remember hearing an offhand comment like, "Whoever wrote this should be in prison." And I was like,
it's like a backhanded compliment.
I was just like, I just wanted to reach out to him. Can we quote you?
Right.
On the
Can
poster?
we put that on the poster?
Because it's like Josh, me and my brother, me and Tim helped like write a little bit for the picture, but mostly it was Josh. Mm-hmm. And but all three of us would go to jail in that case. I think Nathan would go too. We'd all end up in prison for making loads, for shooting loads everywhere.
Yeah, for shooting your loads all over the place.
Shooting the loads, but no, yeah, I think that's just going to be also part of it. It's just that you release that, and then people are like, even if you didn't see it, they'd be like, "Did you hear about this one movie?" Oh yeah, no, I mean it's kind of got. That's why I ask if there's another movie like that, because it's got that sort of appeal of like even like movies you'll see on lists sometimes, like like there's this like top 10 like low budget films, like weird,
unbelievable
stuff.
Low budget films, like there's this movie where this guy's just busting, you're like, what? He's just what now? He's just busting the whole movie.
I think that'd be enough to attract people to watch it. It's like, I also love shit like that too. Like again, bringing up John Waters, people are like, those movies are weird. Did you see that one movie about the the guy in drag that ate the dog shit, and people are like, "What are you talking about?" And then that's how I found out about pink flamingos, and then of course it's a gateway drug to the rest of John Waters' like filmography, or even movies that people aren't particularly fond of, like Human Centipede, where they're like, "Did you hear about this movie? Mm-hmm. They all stitched together and they're all eating each other's shit while they're eating food." And it's like, you hear about it, you're like, "Oh, that sounds terrible. I gotta see that." That's just me though. I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that are like, they hear about something and they just gotta see it. I'm a sucker for those kind of things. I love those kind of marketing campaigns.
Yeah.
Which are like barely marketing campaigns, because essentially it's marketing itself based off how insane it is. So I'm kind of hoping that it has that kind of life where people are like, this is a film about a guy that jacks off a lot. And I made the cum. I made the fake cum. That was one of my jobs on set.
How? What did you use?
Real cum. No, it was fake cum.
It was very cheap to produce.
It was a lot of work. A lot of chafing. No, there was... we used there's a little, depending on the scene, it was like it'd either be like milk, baby powder, and then there's also like I think it's called methylcellulose. It's like a book binding gel that we kind of mix in there, and it looked on point.
My second favorite meth.
Yeah, my second favorite meth after the first one. But mathematics. No. Yeah, it's
Did you figure that out yourself? Did you have to Google this? How did you come up with this concoction?
Oh, for the methylcellulose, that was a Nathan contribution, because we had shot a client project for a video marketing startup that Josh works for called Yellow Box, and an actor had requested to have a sort of real shot where he was in different films that already exists, and he is in a scene that is something about Mary, and he's like, "I need the cum hanging from my ear," and they had to figure out how the fuck to do that. And I think Nathan either figured it out on his own or found it somewhere, and then of course produced the fake cum, and then he was just like, "If there's ever a day where we're gonna need to produce fake cum for something,
wow,
this is what we'd use." And then of course years later, Josh is like, "I got this idea for a movie, and I think I'm gonna go to jail for it." And I didn't say that last part, but he was just like, "It's gonna be loads." And then we're like, oh, and Nathan just looks at me and he's just like, "Yeah, this is it. This is the time."
So the fact that he knew how to make fake cum is actually part of why the movie was made in the first place.
I would say that it definitely was like a major asset. And then
that's why
we were going through bottles of that shit for this. And then, of course, it's a body horror movie as well, so it's got like some Cronenberg-y style, like pulsating body parts and face stuff. Like he's just like erupting. It's all coming out of all holes in his body.
Okay.
And the doctor's like, "You gotta not do this anymore, because this has been known to happen, that if you do this too much, you're gonna die, and it's more like you're gonna pop like a balloon filled with jizz." And he's like, I can't stop. I work for a sex toy company. That's our main character works for like a sex toy company. So it's more than just the fact that it's an addiction. It's quite literally his like occupation. So
okay.
It continues, and he's also in love with like an cam girl.
Yeah.
So that's like the love interest is like a cam girl character.
Okay.
So we went full tilt into the incel territory for this. But but believe me, it's heartfelt. It's a movie about love and addiction, and it's got all the thrills and chills you'd expect from a Kino Crew Productions film. But
how long is it?
Right now, maybe about 20 minutes or so.
Okay.
It's a good little chunk of time for people to dedicate towards this kind of movie.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. Is that like the usual length for your guys' stuff? About 20 minutes?
It varies. Like the Gobblehead movies, those are usually like 10, maybe 8 minutes, because those are usually just fake trailers.
Uh-huh.
I bumped into somebody at like a filmmaking, like networking event, and he was just like, "Yeah, bro, when those movies are coming out?"
Yeah, right.
And I was like, "Yeah, they'll come out eventually, pal. Don't worry about it."
Oh, you didn't even tell him?
No, I told him. I was just like, "Those are actually fake trailers. We make..." "What? I thought those were real movies."
It is sort of confusing at first glance. I could understand why you would get the wrong idea. If you saw all of those, I could see why you would think that, yeah.
It kind of makes me laugh, though.
Yeah, it's almost funnier as a bit.
It's almost funnier as a bit because there's bound to be people out there that are like digging through IMDb. Where's the full thing? Where can I find this? Which is hilarious and also kind of like, yeah, kind of like nice thing. Like, oh, they think it's a real movie.
Yeah.
But no, those are shorter, and then everything else like 20 minutes. Like, first movie I made for Kino Crew was Cottonmouth, and that was like something that had been written pre-pandemic. Then the pandemic happened, and everyone was just like down in the dumps and locked in their homes. I was working during that time. I became an essential worker.
Lucky you.
Lucky me. Yeah.
I was sitting at home making a bunch of money, dude.
And at that point, I had been like going through a whole lot. Prior to that, I was just like, I was at home a lot. I was going through it. I was just playing video games. I was in a dark place, so I made Temple of Doom. No, I was in a dark place, and then the pandemic happened, and then everybody was getting locked in, and I was just like, they were all like, "Damn, there's nothing to do. We just have to stay home and like watch TV and like, play games, I guess, and smoke weed. This is gonna suck." And I was just like, I've been training for this. I'm prepared. And then, of course, I just needed to do something else. I wanted to actually do something. So I ended up working. So I went to go work for the almighty Walmart people. And that was how I worked at a distribution center during the pandemic. And at that point, it was like, I'm just going to lock in. I'm going to work. I'm going to stack. I'll start to make movies when I can. But ultimately, that was like, what's more important is just to like get through everything. And luckily, my buddies were like, no, we got to make movies still. And so they were like, I was gently shoved. And they were like, let's do it.
Well, this was right before the conception of Kino Crew, if my timeline is correct.
This is correct, yeah. This is like right before we even had the name. We just had like an idea that we wanted to make some kind of company, some kind of next movie. And Cottonmouth had been written prior to the pandemic. So that was ideally going to be a next short of some kind. And that was the first Kino Crew movie that won some awards and stuff. And that was like a horror comedy. That was something that we had strictly written to be low budget. And then they were like, let's shoot it for realsies. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So before we even had the company officially put together, we shot the film. And that was classic, like me just pulling people I knew. So it's like my sisters are both very talented. I have two older twin sisters, and they're both very talented. And Nicole is an actress and a voice actor, and she always wanted to work on some more shorts with us. So we were like, all right, come in. You're going to play a pregnant character, and this is going to work because you're currently pregnant. So she was legitimately pregnant for that film, and then her husband...
Hey, would you mind bringing your baby in with you?
Yeah.
The one in your belly?
Can you sign on her behalf? And she was great, and her husband, Kyle, is also an actor, and they all are... I'm sure Tim's already told you, they're all actors, and everyone's very talented actors and writers. And casted him as a husband because naturally they have natural chemistry because they're married. And then he's already an actor. And I casted my uncle, who I'd thrown into shit all the time, as like the uncle that moves in. And Nicole's very hesitant about this uncle moving in. And there's something weird about him. And the weird thing is that he has like a sock puppet that is just like has its own life and is able to like communicate with everybody, almost separate from him. But it's an abuse.
I don't think that's weird at all.
No, it's totally normal. Watch Dateline. There's a change in the dynamics between the wife and the husband.
That would be like Jim Henderson's whole life, right? Like the guy who made fucking all the Muppets.
Oh, good old Jim Henson.
Jim Henson, that's his name. Yeah, poor guy. But anyway,
this is like the dark side of Jim Henson.
Thinking of a guy who has to fucking have separate personalities out of his hand.
So you think Jim Henson talks like Kermit in his sleep? Probably. It's just all the different voices come out.
Haunts his nightmares. He just makes a little piece, a little fucking.
Him and Frank Oz they're just talking as their characters.
Probably. But anyway, so weird uncle with the sock puppet. Sorry, I got lost. I got caught on that. I got caught on that right there.
Nicole, the wife, is like clearly this is weird, and the husband is like totally buying into it, like it's fine. And it turns out it's more
an enabler.
It's an enabler. So it's like psychodrama, but also the idea was to come up with something really goofy and play it like 100% straight. and it turned out really well, and it won, cleaned up some awards here and there, and then then we were like, hey, let's just make a company, and then we just made Kino Crew, and then we just started making other stuff. I think Gobblehead came out from just us wanting to keep shooting things.
Yeah.
Because we had gotten the bug again, and we're like, let's just make more shit. And then, another guy you should have on the podcast is Steve Nystrom, and he is he has a band called Nostradamus. He's a local heavy metal guy, but also one of my longtime friends who's also done a lot of acting, improv, comedy.
Really?
Yeah, and he's
a jack of all trades.
Jack of all trades, and he wanted to make movies. So, like 2017, he wanted to make a movie. He's like, "Hey, I got this idea for a movie. We're gonna call it the Bowel Movement." So, as you can see, we were obsessed.
That's actually what he sounds like, guys.
It sounds exactly.
He talks like
that.
A goblin.
He talks like he talks like a Steve-O. But
a Steve-O.
The rare and elusive Steve-O.
Yes, the one and only, the chosen one.
You gotta whip out the Pokedex on him. What is this? Steve-O. So he wanted to make a movie, and he wanted to act in it, and we wrote a movie called The Bowel Movement, which is about a lady that is she's essentially being haunted by a demonic spirit that has to do with taking a shit, because she really needs to take a shit, and she hasn't taken a shit yet. That's the movie. And there's a whole lot of other stuff that happens in it, but I think that's enough to tell you.
Yeah.
And it's pretty fun. It was a blast. And then, Steve just wanted to make more shorts. We made a bunch of more
Imagine
shorts.
the Babadook, but you really have to shit.
That's the elevator pitch. That's the pitch I give to the guy in the elevator, and he'll never give me the money for it. And he'll tell me it's a really good idea and then just leave me alone.
You actually scared him.
Yeah.
You actually scared him with your horror pitch.
There's a restraining order against
Frightening. But that's a great. I like that concept a lot. It's kind of like a cool metaphysical like horror.
Steve-O was even like citing like there's a real demon that actually needs you to shit as a offering. And I was like, that's not true.
This sounds like a story you could tell kids. Like if your kid like holds in his shit all the time and it creates problems, you could actually like, make that story up and scare him into shitting.
You better use the bathroom, or else you're gonna summon Belphegor.
Show him the movie.
Yeah, just show him the movie, or I'll make you watch my film. No, Dad, please.
Potty training.
But it's we caught the bug, and then Gobblehead was also another thing that was written like way before the pandemic, and we were just sitting around, and he's like, let's make a horror movie. What kind of horror movie? Oh, we can't afford a full movie. Let's do a fake trailer. Well, what kind of fake trailer? I guess maybe for like a slasher movie. What's the gimmick? Maybe it's Thanksgiving themed. All right, because there's not really a whole lot of them. And he's like, what if we call it Gobblehead? And I'm like, that is the stupidest name.
I love it.
I love it. Yeah, we got to make this. So we wrote out the treatment for it, and of course it sat in a notebook for like a couple of years, and then we finished Cottonmouth, and like Steve-O played the voice of the sock, and he's like, we gotta do something else. Let's do another thing. So then we shot Gobblehead, and that was like crazy time pressure because we shot it and edited it like a couple weeks before Thanksgiving. So we were like right before the finish line. We were like crunching it, which was also kind of part of the fun. Like, hurry, let's get it made.
Yeah.
And and then it became like an annual thing.
And that wasn't the plan at first, no?
No, the plan was to just never shoot it.
Yeah.
And then we were like, well, let's make it. And they're like, well, we don't have a lot of time to make it. And like, well, let's just see what we can do. Let's call who we can get. Let's shoot it in like a night. It was like a night and a half we shot it.
Really? It was that fast?
Very fast.
And then the rest of it's like post-production then?
Yeah, and then we just pushed it straight through post-production as fast as we could. Tim did the score for the film. He's actually produced most of the music for the movie. And then for Gobblehead 1, we're always fucking with Tim. We're always putting Tim in some weird shit. It's like weird costumes and like stuff like that. He's always down for it. And out of all the people I knew, he was the last guy to catch COVID because he has some sort of freakish immune system, which just shocks me.
I believe that.
He's like built different.
I think he's a freak of nature.
I think he's his nature. Yeah.
Like he's one of those people where like there's a few people I meet in life where I'm like, you are so incredibly like what you are. You remind me like that of like what humankind is capable of. like the raw creativity of God lives on through you.
He's like a force of nature.
Yes, and so like I just like watching the choices that man makes in general are fun to observe. It's like I would have never picked that. You're a genius.
Yeah, he's like and that's all day. He's like that all day.
For those that don't know, this is this man's brother.
Yes,
So-
Tim is my brother.
I feel like you must have like you know this intimately more than anybody else. Like that this guy is this man for real.
He's like
And
a full on.
none of it's like he's not putting it on. Like none of it is that. It's just who he is.
It's just
force of
who he
nature.
is. He's like that all the time, and he's always doing something. He's always working towards his craft in some way. He's doing something.
Yeah.
It's making beats, or he's showing up to a show, or he's running material past me all the time. Most of us talking is just us trying to crack the other one up with bits. So it's like that's most of that's the entire relationship. But he what's it called? We like covered him in blood, and he was wearing like almost no clothes in like almost 0-degree weather. So it was like the most ill-advised shooting ever. And I was like, why are we doing this outside? In retrospect, I'm looking back on it, I'm like, this is like the worst decision ever. But it was also hilarious because we finally gave him COVID. So he finally had COVID, so he couldn't talk shit about everybody else getting COVID. And he was locked in his room, and he was sick. And we were like, well, while you're in there, can you like produce the score for the film? And he was just like, sure. And I was like, all right, right on. Didn't have to fight him on that. So then he produced the score, and it was awesome. It was very synthy, very 80s kind of deal. But the variations in the tracks was like top notch. Like Tim is just the best when it comes to like making things out of nothing.
Yeah.
Just like pulling it straight out of his ass. And he did the music for that, Cottonmouth, basically all the movies leading up to now. But yeah, he was. It was like I think he did it like a weekend too.
Wow.
It's like a short turnaround time.
In a movie score, I mean, like I know the general process is usually what you have filler music and then you put the music on after. Like, did you even do that, or did he just make everything from scratch?
I think
because like you have an edit and you're making the music around the edit. Is what I'm saying.
Like the second movie, we had temp tracks. The first movie,
temp tracks. That's what
like I would send him like music as inspiration, but I hadn't layered any of it on the timeline, so there was no like, here are the temp tracks. Here's where it should go. I was just like, here's the mood of the piece. Here's the rough cut, and go for it.
Yeah.
And then he just produced like a bunch of shit. Some of the stuff we ended up even carrying over the second trailer, just because there was just so much of it. But I mean, yeah. So in other words, good thing we gave him COVID.
Yeah, I was gonna say somebody give Tim COVID again. Let's make another classic.
Make another classic. Get all that creativity out.
I mean, like, that is cool though. That like. The whole score comes from him too, because I mean, a score for a film that's a whole other part of his film's history if it's done right. I mean, so many scores are unforgettable, and like a film like that, it would set the tone so well because it's like it's almost tongue in cheek. So you need somebody who kind of gets what we're going for with that. Like it's not. Like the synth thing is probably a big part of that equation. You need kind of like an 80s horror vibe to kind of to take it all home. I feel like that's got to be a big part of it.
He knew exactly what we were aiming for. Plus, it helps that he already knew me and my sensibilities.
Yes,
It was just like 80s synth, and then based off those recommendations, okay, something in that vein, and then he sees the movie and he's like, okay, he like gels with the vibe. So it's like it came out pretty well. Like, very happy with that. I love all the Gobbleheads, but I think I'm very close to that first one, just with the insane amount of time that we had and how it came out exactly right. So I mean, it was just a fun time shooting it. I think Nathan was also sick on that set, so we're all having a fun time. It was like a really good vibe. And I look over to Nathan, he's running camera, and he's just like dying. He's just like sick, and but he powered through it. It's just like he soldiered on because it was like, we gotta do this thing. But it was a great experience. And then of course, like any chance we get, we'll throw Tim in front of the camera because it's just like, just let him roll, just let him do a whole thing. There's a movie we made called Third Wheel, and it has to do with I'm in it too. I actually do some acting. Me and Steve-O are like waiting for Tim to show up, and like, oh man, Tim's coming finally, the boy's coming over to drink and hang out. And he's like, yeah, man, but he's bringing his girlfriend with. And every time he brings his girlfriend, whoever he's dating sucks. They're usually like a vegetable. And then Tim shows up, and of course his girlfriend's a vegetable, but she's like literally in a vegetative state in a wheelchair. It's like one of the most insensitive fucking shorts ever made, but it's funny because most of it is just Tim riffing. And Tim like had like a bizarre haircut at the time, and we put like fake tattoos on his face.
Yeah.
And we just let him roll for like what felt like 2 hours, and then Josh had to dig through the footage and be like, "Yeah, we can make a movie out of this." But it was just like unfiltered Tim. I'll send it to you. It's like unfiltered Tim.
Oh, wow. That's kind of an insane idea to even like just let him go for 2 hours and just film it, and then you'll get gold out of that.
Yeah.
You'll capture some lightning in a bottle.
Plus, like,
That's wild.
Stream of consciousness, like straight up, like.
Yes, because again, like that's why a freak of nature is a great way to describe it. Like you kind of just need to watch that guy and observe, and you'll capture something.
Yeah,
I didn't know you guys actually practiced that. You actually did it, because that's what I was saying.
I mean, he's built different. I mean, his thing is that like we were all raised to be like super, creative, and then like we read a lot, we wrote a lot. We were filming movies at a young age, and we were always involved in something, acting in something. And then when we were in high school, Tim joined. Well, we both joined the improv club. I was too busy dating and doing other bad high school stuff. But Tim stuck with it, and his teacher in high school was Steve-O. So Steve-O was part of the improv club, and he began to teach it. So Tim learned from Steve-O. Steve-O was incredibly funny, very talented guy. But then, after he left high school, while still in high school, he did an After School Matters thing. And the After School Matters improv club was being taught by, I forgot her last name, but her name's Katie. And she's very successful in her own right. She's a writer who wrote for a comedy series called Teachers. And that was something that became a success as well. But she was a very talented improv artist. And that After School Matters class, like, was like fucking crazy talented, like to the point where like I would pay to go see them as opposed to like an improv group that's been doing it for like fucking years, right? Something about that collection of kids, and Tim was just like killing it, and they won like a bunch of contests or whatever, like they did very well. And then after that, Tim went to courses at OGM, which is One Group Mind. That is a comedy company, and the guy involved with that is Mike Abdelsaid. He's the guy that runs the Comedy Clubhouse on, I want to say, I should know addresses of things, but I don't remember. But
can you tell us his phone number too?
Yeah, his social security is, but no, he's another guy that's like incredibly gifted.
Yeah.
At like improv courses. So Tim's like had like a collection of some of like the best teachers in the field, and of course he brings all his own shit to it. So he's like an improv monster. He's like an improv Frankenstein. And then eventually he was like, he did a lot of shows. He did a lot of stand-up, a lot of improv. He was in countless improv groups. And then he was like, I want to shift gears because I love music. I love producing music. I want to take a stab at doing a lot of that. And now he's just doing all this other music stuff that he's really good at. There was a time where he was also mixing music with comedy as he was doing it. So he was doing
and he still does that a little
stuff. He still does that. So it's like he can do all that stuff. So
but there was a point in time where that was what his music was, you're saying? Like, there was more of a comedy music thing he was doing?
Yeah, like he would do... And it was like... He would do, like, guitar-based stuff, too. Mm-hmm. So, like, because he plays guitar. So he would just mix that in with, like... Mix in with his bits.
There's a comedian named, I think, Stephen Haas is his name. And he does this thing where he'll play piano as he says his bits. So it's like, that's the bit, is that he's just doing a regular stand-up comedy thing, but also he's playing the piano at the same time.
And I love that shit.
Yeah, it's funny.
Tim loves that too. He loves the Zach Galifianakis stand-ups where it's like, I think he was doing piano stuff as well. We were big Tenacious D people when we were growing up. Mm-hmm. So he's obsessed with that kind of stuff. That's all in that cocktail, And now he's doing these shows, and he's like mixing his passions.
Yeah, when I first met him, it was funny. It was the first open mic I ever went to in Chicago, and I met him and a few other people, and I met him as a comedian. So like, I saw him just do stand-up comedy, and then he hands me, and I rapped, and then he hands me his card, and he's like, "Oh, I make music too." When I saw his music, I was blown away. I was like, "Oh, like this is more what I would imagine his thing is the music, but the comedy's just like another thing." Hearing all of this, I realized it's all this massive conglomerate of everything that just happens to also produce that music.
It's like a metastasized. It's this big thing.
Yeah, but I mean, there's something to be said about like, because you only have so much bandwidth and you can spread yourself thin, but also like to be able to have proficiency in a bunch of different things says a lot about your character and like your ability to communicate your ideas and a whole lot of shit. Like, you know, to be able to make music is one thing, to be able to do stand-up is another thing, to be able to do improv is another thing, to be able to write a song I think is even a different thing than to be able to perform a song. If you can do both of those things, that says something about you. Because, yeah, you can write it, and maybe you can even record it and have a good studio recording, but can you perform that? Yeah. Can you entertain people with it? Because that's different. Yeah. And, like, when you see people who execute well in almost every category they're in, like, because there's a few people you meet that are like that, where it's like, you could do anything. Like, I feel like if you really wanted to do something else and you put that same level of dedication that you seem to put into everything towards that other thing, like if you take yourself as you are now and you put all of that into another category, you'll excel there too, because you were just destined to do that no matter where you went. There's a few people you meet that are like that. And he that's how I feel about him. It's like I watch him do comedy, he's a natural. He's himself. He's the same guy I was just talking to. I watch him do music, he's a natural. He's like because there's with music, I feel like it's about that creativity. It's about that raw personality that you manage to insert into the music. And if you have that broad spectrum of interests, you will manage to tap into that and be creative because you're already doing it naturally. You're already thinking in such a way, and he has that. He's one of those few musicians that inspires me to keep doing shit because I'm like, damn, dude, like he's a real artist. Yeah. A lot of people out here who just aren't really they make things. It's the oversaturation problem again. Like anybody can make something, but like, are they making something? Are they really? Is it all inspired? Is there a true idea, a core concept that pushes them forward and drives that?
And it's like, do they want it? Do they want to just look like they want it?
Yes. Yes. And that the reality comes through. I think, like, Tim is one of those people that reminds me, all right, the rap game, we still alive and well. This motherfucker gonna carry the torch forward. Yeah. I will go to any gorilla taco party I have to, But yeah, dude, and it's like it's a certain like philosophy that inspires me truly, because it's ultimately just the way you look at everything that goes into each individual thing. If you're a great filmmaker, you're probably looking at everything on a grand scale, and that's why you're a great filmmaker. You're probably thinking of a million things at once, and that's what allows you to make the one good thing, because you can somehow boil it all down into one thing.
Yeah, it's a mindset.
It's a mindset, bro. And and that's why it's fun to see like the interviews with like big filmmakers, because they always do have like a weird schematic, like a weird framework of thinking. Like Quentin Tarantino is a crazy person, but he's very entertaining to listen to, and he's always got an opinion. He has an opinion about fucking everything.
Yeah, it's annoying.
But that's what makes him. It's annoying. It's like, dude, you didn't have to tell us for 15 minutes why this scene in this movie is actually the best scene of all time. You just told us that last week about that other scene in that other movie. But I mean, it is why he's such a film. It's why he's the kind of guy where you can go through his films and everything's kind of a reference to another movie somehow. Yeah. Because he's such a nerd, and he cares so much about all of it that he fucking obsesses over it. And like, it's those people that end up making the best things.
Yeah, the obsessives,
the insane people.
Yep. you gotta be crazy, man.
Yeah, you have to be crazy enough to believe in yourself.
Yes.
Quentin Tarantino, he is a fun one to watch though. Like, he's one that's like easy to tease and easy to make fun of, but his skills are undeniable. That's the ultimate thing. Is you can never ever deny like the success of somebody like him.
You can't walk away and be like, oh, that was a bad movie. It's like even his lesser works are pretty good. Him, like guys that have definitive visions, like the Coen brothers, like
for me, I think my favorite director of all time would have to be Paul Thomas Anderson. Just because he has like a string line of his vision throughout all of his films that is like a master stroke of directing. Like it was one of those few people I can point to and be like, how the fuck? Every single time, like his movies don't feel like any other movies, but somehow there's a specific tone that manages to come through in all of them. And it's so impressive to me. Like I can't even believe, and still hasn't tarnished his legacy in my eyes. He still managed to keep doing that.
Yep.
Even with the movie with the 25-year-old girl dating a 16-year-old, somehow I still like to watch that in the theater.
It's a great movie.
It's a great movie.
It's a great movie.
And so, like he still manages to push the bar, and he still manages to do that. And like there's certain things he does in his movies where it's like he'll do montage things where it's like there's the way he uses music is very peculiar, and it's like little things like that where a director is clearly making a choice. Like
the
to me,
movements,
the constant one takes he'll do like over and over to the point where it's like ridiculous the amount of things he'll do in one take. It's actually ridiculous. The logistics of it. Like I'm sure it's almost just film nerd stuff he's doing where he knows the film nerds are gonna watch that and be mind blown.
But I love him though because when you listen to him in an interview, you're like, that's just a normal guy.
Yeah,
like,
right?
He doesn't come off as like a giant pompous jerk or like he doesn't try to hit people over the head either with like film knowledge. He's just like, yeah, whatever, man. I saw Venom. I thought it was cool. And I was like, that's the guy.
Like the opposite of Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, Tarantino's like, he's like film only, digital, Like he's very, very opinionated. So I think I prefer Paul Thomas Anderson's like chill vibe, and he's just like, yeah, man, I'm just gonna make like a masterpiece, no big deal.
Yeah.
And it's like usually every movie he makes is like worse. Like a trailer just dropped for another movie coming out with his, and it's like a DiCaprio movie.
I didn't know the trailer came out.
Yeah, it's something battles. It's like it's about like revolutionary characters, like protester revolutionary types, something like that. It looks interesting. It's also dark comedy. It's based off a Thomas Pynchon novel, which is the same guy that wrote the book that Inherent Vice is based off of. So
which is probably like his weirdest movie.
His weirdest movie. I kind of love that movie though. It's so weird. It's very much like 70s paranoia.
Yeah.
Dark absurdist comedy. So I fuck with that pretty hard.
One thing he does so well, I feel like too, is like he manages to take the tone of things and like with each of his movies, I feel like he manages to have such a different type of tone than his other films, but it's still like it's so that movie would be that. It would be the noir kind of thing almost. Whereas something like
There Will Be Blood.
There Will Be Blood is a straight up like Western like
you're like, who the fuck made this?
Yeah, exactly.
Is this the same guy?
And then Punch Drunk Love is like a dramatic romance film.
Yeah.
And he just manages to over and over again just like do a completely different movie. And
which is awesome. Because it's like, that's what you'd want to do, right? You'd be like, you want to keep making the same shit all the time. I mean, unless you want to. Like, but again, it's like different to each his own. Like Tarantino, when you're watching like a Tarantino movie,
who I feel like had a weird career trajectory is Adam McKay, because he made like
yeah. It's an interesting one though.
It's so odd because it was like he was making a bunch of comedies, and then all of a sudden he started making political comedies, and it's like so on the nose political comedies. Whereas before it was like Anchorman. You were making Anchorman, dude.
Even though Anchorman is kind of political a little bit, it's
sort of
sexual politics,
but it's nothing like when you're making like a movie. Okay, so I think The Big Short is where like the straw that broke the camel's back. I guess that would be it. Like that would be the movie where it really shifts, because that was that kind of worked. I think when you did it then, that was the tone of the book, and so it made sense. Like you're taking that, and it's like a tongue-in-cheek, like we're being funny, but also this is educational. This is supposed to, we're trying to trick you into learning why the Wall Street crash happened, so then you don't allow it to happen again.
Yes.
That's a concept that you could make work. But then he did that Vice movie, and that was way different, but it was still the same. And I feel like when they did Don't Look Up, that movie made me mad, because it was so so obviously a climate change movie, but they were trying to like make it like, oh, but it's actually it's climate change, but it's a meteor coming towards the Earth, and nobody would care, and look how stupid everybody is. And it's like, okay, if your whole point is look how stupid everybody is, like, isn't that like what are we achieving here? And that was most of the movies. Look how dumb society has become.
Shamed.
Yeah, it's just talking
shamed.
shit about all of society.
Like, bro, if anything, you just want me to like let it happen. At
Yes.
this point. What are you saving really?
And maybe there's a point to it. Like I think we are kind of that dumb, but also like. I just liked Anchorman. I kind of like just silly comedy. I like when comedy's just comedy and we don't have to have a grand point. We don't have to
like the stuff in Anchorman is like well done because it was very much like workplace politics, like workplace sexual politics.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel like preachy.
No.
It was and we weren't supposed to be like Hellier on Burgundy. You act like a misogynist.
It's like, look at him, he's so stupid, he would do that.
Exactly. We still care for the character, but also he's a buffoon. All the guys are buffoons. That is the joke, is that they have to move with the changing of the times, and it isn't very much. But at the same time, no one stared at the camera and was just like, "You bad. Be nice to lady at work." Yeah. They didn't have to do that.
That would have been a different movie.
Maybe we were smarter back then, and people have just gotten progressively dumber.
I think that the people who make movies think people are dumber. I think that's more of it. Like they think they have to dumb it down. Yeah, like they're actually exposing themselves when they make a movie like Don't Look Up. They're like, look how dumb we think you guys are. That's
facts.
That's what I think is happening.
That's how it feels.
It's like you really are infantilizing me when I watch. That's why I get mad when I'm watching it. Like, they really think I'm that dumb.
They're talking down to us and stuff. I haven't seen that movie. But
you can make a good movie about anything, but a lot of movies just come off like, I think that's because people are afraid to say the wrong thing, and so you try to make the thing that's like the socially correct thing to say, and that's like, I think that's why a bunch of comedy is not quite the same as it used to be. Like, I think there's still some raunchier comedy, but like the era of like 2005 to 2015, like that era of comedy with like American Pie, those movies I don't think would be quite the same. You make that type of thing now.
They would never make them.
They never even make them, yeah.
They would never make those kind of movies
just
again.
Because it's too risky. It would be seen as a risk to make, you want to make jokes about people. They just turned 18. You want to make sexual jokes
down on
about
them?
18-year-olds? Why are you punching down?
Why are you punching down on this character that's weird?
Yeah. What? Just because
be accepting.
Just because she plays an oboe, she likes to fuck a lot. You're telling me?
It's like it's like whenever it comes to like politics and stuff like that, I'm like, to each his own. I'm just gonna go back to my comfy blanket of like horror movies.
Yeah,
I feel like I can get away with it there.
Yes, because I think horror is still a place where it's like, you could have Terrifier 3. You can have a fucking just gore porn movie, and it will be successful. We still are just as fucked up there.
Exactly.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing's changed. The drive-ins,
if anything, we're worse.
We might be worse.
Remember Hostel? That movie was a big one.
Hostel is another one. The Saw movies, like gore movies. And if someone's just like, I don't like it, it's too violent, and I'm like, that's fine, that's okay, that's to each his own. I don't want to be like someone that's just like, you're a pussy.
Well, see, my mom was talking to me about it. She was saying she doesn't like those movies because it makes her think, like, if it was a real crazy person and they saw it and they're just watching someone pull out guts, they're probably thinking like, oh, let's do that this weekend. It's like, damn, Mom. Like,
but that's always been that like that, right? Because like you go back to like even back in the 50s and 40s, there's serial killers that like, see something and then they replicate it. Those people are already mentally ill to begin with.
Yeah, I agree.
Also moms are different, because moms will be like, oh my God, you guys are watching that clown movie where he saws a woman in half. How could you? And then they go in the next room and watch a documentary about, I come in and my mom's watching something where it's like, and she was raped 20 times and stabbed in the face, and eventually was left to die in a ditch.
Yeah, I should say.
And she's like eating cereal.
All my mom watches is that. That's all my mom watches.
Like, bro, Terrifier is far less disturbing than the shit you just have on in the background.
Because what you're watching was real.
Yours was real, and they're doing the interviews with the family members and they're crying. This is like
what bothers me about those shows is because it's funny, in the same exact car ride, I was having this conversation with her, I was talking with her about this type of thing with like horror films. she had been listening to this because it's like they have their own channel on the satellite radio. So like you can just listen to the Dateline murder shows on your drive to work.
Yeah.
And it's like, what I hate about it is you can clearly tell. Like I've consumed enough YouTube to where it's like, I know you could have told me this narrative within 10 minutes. You could have just told me who killed who, and this is why. You didn't have to make it a 60-minute program with commercial breaks. Because what happens is like it'll be like a twist, and then now you have to listen through the 3 commercials. Like, what a fucked up thing you're doing. Like, so I'm listening to this story, and it's like, and then they drag me out into the woods, and for the next 5 minutes, it was pure terror. We'll join you again in 5 minutes on Dateline. And then it's like a commercial for toilet paper in Walmart. And then you come back, and it's like, okay, so I was in the ditch. They were kicking me in the face. It's like, what the fuck did you just waited 5 minutes to hear about the most traumatic moment in this person's life.
It's fucked up.
It's so
fucked up.
And also, like, the way that, because what bothers me is I see that they're adapting this trauma into like a format that can sell. Like that's what's going on right there. They're and it's like changing it into a commercially viable product.
It's sick.
And my mom's buying it.
And everyone's buying it. And oftentimes it's the people that would be like, well, you shouldn't be watching that bad stuff. And then they are doing that.
Yes.
It's like, but also I don't want to knock people if you're into true crime. Being a true crime,
well,
but also
the argument is
acknowledge that it's weird because it's like even the news itself is bizarre. The news is just like I was watching the news the other day, and it's like maybe 2 minutes of news, and it's like fucked up news, and then like 2 minutes of news, 5 minutes of commercials, and then back to the news for like a millisecond of more news. And I'm like, this is just sick.
And the news, while you're seeing the news, there's also commercials in the corner. And like,
they're selling shit to you anyway as you're watching it. And most of the commercials are all pills.
Yeah.
It's all meds.
Dude, you know what tripped me out the other day? I was like, I look over and I think, oh, it's a Snow White commercial because the Snow White movie came out. But it's actually a medical commercial because the medicine, like I think it was like a nasal, like it was like a cold medicine or something. But it was like Snow White walking through the woods and she's having a great time, and then it's like all of a sudden Nasal Pro, and I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, wait a minute, you guys are working with, it's like a double ad. It's like an ad for the movie and for medicine at this. Is that even?
It's insane. It's like the Taco Bell Chihuahua being there for the Godzilla cross promotion.
Yeah,
the marketing world is bizarre and psychotic.
Well, the whole thing. The problem is the problem is anything you take anything too far, and it just the scales get tipped in these weird ways. So like, I hate the fact that people could just they take capitalism and they blame everything on that because sure.
Why they benefit from reap the benefits of capitalism.
Exactly. There's pros and cons, but it's the fact that we have the worst possible, it's like if you took capitalism and you just you kept the money all in this tiny little box and put it all the way over there, and then nobody can touch the money except one guy. Like, that's actually what we have. Like, there's actually a way you could probably, it's good if we can all produce things. It's bad if we all don't have money. That's more what the problem is. And you take that problem too far and it just becomes a complete issue. I mean, I think that's the core of all of it. The core of the video game industry, the core of the movie industry. It's like, where does the money flow and where do we feel safe putting money? And everything stems from that. Money is the root of all evil, is what they say. But true. I mean, it really becomes a question of that. It's like, if we don't have money to work with, then we're all just we all feel like we can't do things. And so or we all feel like we can't fund things. And if the people hoard the money, if the people say, oh, we can only put money towards this, then it's their decisions that guide everything because they have the money. So with medicine, okay, so if medicine, the medical industry, these are the people that sponsor the news, what do you think the news is going to say? What do you think politicians are going to say if they're getting all their money from these guys? Are they ever going to talk shit about that guy? Probably not. It's just the core of most problems is actually just a money trail. It's not that confusing. Yep. It's scary. It's scary because that's really most of it. That really, and it's crazy the amount of it that we've allowed to happen. That's I think where the debate really is. Is how do we maybe scale back on that? That's I think where we could fix things is there.
I think for the most part, I think these powers that be allow us enough of our basic commodities to not get so pissed.
Yeah, right.
That we all get out in the streets, because then a lot of people, the average person that's not constantly watching the news getting furious how badly they're getting fucked, that average person is working like 2 jobs and maybe has a kid and other issues, and then comes home and is just happy that the lights are on, or is just content enough because there's Wi-Fi, and then they go to sleep, and then maybe they get a Friday blowjob, and then maybe they go out drinking with their buddies for like one night out of the week. And most of those people are just okay with it so long as the bare minimum is met.
Right.
And a lot of these folks in power realize that, and that's why they get away with all these other victories.
Well, and that's why it's easy to, if you're someone who actually pays attention to anything, you can just easily look crazy. Because it's like, of course you wouldn't care about most of that. Of course you wouldn't. You have a real life.
Yes.
Like, you have real things to worry about. Like, there's only so much bandwidth. There's only so much of your brain that can be put out into this world. And so you're actually the crazy person for paying attention to politics.
But the people that pay attention too much, they end up cooked.
Yeah, it really actually does fuck you up.
Yeah, they end up like they've been tinfoil hatted hard as hell,
and it goes both ways.
They could be right.
Like, it's not like I'm saying like, oh, you're a crazy libtard, like, oh, you're a crazy conspiracy theorist. It goes any which direction.
Yeah,
like I'm not targeting anybody.
No, I'm saying, I agree. Too much of just like that one thing. It's like, you can have these opinions.
Yeah,
you can believe in these things. You could notice these specific things. But
how much? Well, how much of that do you see in front of you? Like, that's what I always like feel like you have to consider is how much of that is like affecting your real reality right here, right in front of you, right now.
For real.
Because if you just sit there and obsess about things that you constantly see on this square device that you're looking at, or you constantly see on screens, like, okay, so how much? Have you ever? Is Nancy Pelosi in the room with us right now? Like, have you ever met her? Like, have you ever seen any of these people? And like, sure, it's all a downstream. That stuff does affect you, but like, I think there's a lot of truth in the fact that even like local politics, probably a lot more important than you realize.
Yes.
Probably way more local politics that would actually affect you that you're not paying attention to.
Exactly.
Than that stuff that you're looking at that's just trying to piss you off most of the time anyway.
Yeah. It's trying to get you mad. Why is it trying to get me mad? Because it wants you to comment and share it to raise engagement.
And that's so much of it too. So much of it's just a game. It's an engagement game. That's most that's what. In the way that like everything's been tipped more and more in one direction, that's another thing that's been like that's gotten worse over time. Because like
get people mad
and sell the news as that, sell the media as the amount of people
basically
we can get to look at it.
Anything.
Yeah. Commodify it.
If you want to commodify literally anything, get people mad.
Yes.
That's
and
it.
So how did we take this story that is a typical story and turn it into a story that might be more engaging, that might drive people to a certain conclusion, rather than like just saying what happened? How do we pull something out of this story that's actually like more, it's gonna, get them like emotionally.
Get them emotionally invested.
Yes. And like,
they're sitting around in fucking rooms with a dry erase board talking about it.
Yeah.
Like, how do we get this to happen?
I think that's why, like, there's no way that Trump wouldn't have come back. It's kind of like you had this super important character in your series, and you just try to get rid of him.
You can't write off Kevin Spacey. We got to finish this show.
Yeah. Then you write off Kevin Spacey, and you make the worst season of your show.
The show's about him. Then they... Yeah, we got to bring Trump back. And then, of course, the news, the ratings.
The ratings did go up. That's what's so crazy is that Trump came back and the ratings went up. And so but it's so hard to, it's confusing because they really act like they don't like him, but they have to love him. There's just no way. He's the only thing that people watch. Like, he's the only way that people will go to your station is if you're talking about this guy.
And they love how much everybody, like, hates him.
Yes. Well, yeah.
And they help build him up.
It's so counterintuitive because if you guys really don't like him, just don't bring him up all the time. You'll actually like kind of you're in charge of who we talk about.
But they're like, if we don't bring him up, someone else will, and then they'll make all that money.
Yeah, right.
That's the thinking, right?
True Social is gonna make all the money.
They're gonna make all the money off that engagement, and it's like, yeah, that's true. There's almost no winning with that.
It's just wild because like. It's such a stupid. I think you're so right in that it's just meant to. The whole thing is meant to make people like complacent and be cool with the way things are. I think like it's hard because I think the natural instinct is to look at that and think like, because most people, just on the scale of things, you're relatively poor. Like, to even be middle class, you have to have like hundreds of thousands of dollars. So most people are relatively poor. So I think when you're in that position, you're going to look at something and you're going to think, okay, so how am I getting screwed over? Like, how do I end up here? And through that, you can come to a million conclusions. And most of them actually aren't that conspiratorial. There's conspiratorial things.
There's spending habits and shit.
When it's human nature.
Yeah.
So it's like the human nature playing out through those spending habits. Like, of course, there would be a group of people that would hoard all the money. And of course, there would be a group of people that would make decisions on the behalf of others. But it's not as coordinated as you think it is.
It's chaos.
It's just chaos playing out on a grand scale.
Any kind of conspiracy's got to take like fucking all the effort in the world to get a couple people to not say anything is impossible.
Yeah. Have you ever tried to keep a secret?
It's fucking insane.
It's so hard.
It's like, well, dude, we're the aliens. I don't think they know where the fuck those things are, dude.
That's why I don't believe, like, now the government's coming out and saying, like, oh, we have information about aliens. We have UAP information. I'm like, okay.
That means they don't have anything.
Exactly. Like, why would you be saying that? Either that or they know, like, there's going to be some type of technology that's going to be revealed no matter what they do. Like, it's going to happen, and so they need to get ahead of the curve, and so they're only going to tell us so much, so that way, like, there just has to be some ulterior motive, because otherwise, why in the world were you doing this? Like,
or that's just like they got tired of telling people they don't know anything.
Yeah,
it could be that the government truly has no fucking clue what any of that is.
That was most of the argument, was that if they were to say that would make them look bad to everyone. So they can't say that
because everyone's got it built up in their minds that, like, oh, the government clearly knows everything about these aliens. The scarier thought might be that they might not just know fucking anything. That's
probably the more likely one.
And it's more likely because it's just a bunch of incompetent boobs that are running everything anyway.
Yeah.
And then we all
there's no conspiracy. They just don't know shit.
They don't know what's going on. That's my other pet hobby now, is all the UFO stuff.
Oh, dude, I don't know how into it you are, but like I've went down that rabbit hole many a time. And like, so here's the thing, is I think there's like a lot of manipulation. I think that's a big part of it, is like this whistleblower thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of these people that I think the government sends out to go on podcasts and to appear on things.
Disinformation agents.
Yeah, and Joe Rogan's even said like he thinks he's had these people on his show. Like, because he said,
no doubt.
I think the way he's phrased it is like, if I were the government, I would do that, and I think that I would send those people to me, and I think I've made the mistake of having those people on my show.
And he can't help it because he's got like the #1 podcasting network in the world. How do you vet people that are sent by the government to manipulate you?
Yeah.
And even more so, the people that are sent to you might not even know that they're spreading misinformation, because they may be victims of manipulations themselves.
Oh, well, that's a bit, yeah, of course. And like, if it were coordinated at all, there would be, you'd have to imagine, because that's, I mean, something you even hear in these stories to begin with, is like, that's why people like, who's the big one? He was like the first big one ever. It's Joe Rogan's most viewed episode ever. It's the guy.
Oh, you're talking about
Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar.
So Bob Lazar, like, it's either an excuse and it's all just this elaborate thing, or he's telling the truth. But he says that it's compartmentalized, so that like the FBI, they purposely feed you disinformation when you're in these categories. So like, say you are a guy who works in a UFO field and you are actually learning this confidential information.
Yeah.
They'll still leave a file on a desk that says these outlandish things, hoping that you see that file, and you take that bait and you remember that, and then you share that information.
Classic spy manipulation bullshit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what they would do. So there is probably so much of that, like accidental misinformation, because there was seeds that they planted in order to send people down rabbit holes.
Yep.
But also, like, I feel like there's also something to, like, once a Fed, always a Fed. Like, if they're telling you they were in the federal government, do you really trust them now as they're telling you these stories?
That's just it.
It's so hard to tell, because maybe they really are a whistleblower. Maybe they really are going against protocol, and they're telling you all of this stuff they're not supposed to be telling you, and they really are, because like you'll hear crazy on there's this podcast, I'm forgetting the guy's name right off the top of my head, right? Sean Ryan, and on his show he's had a bunch of these whistleblower people on. And it's like kind of what propelled his show into what it is he would have these people on, and like some of them, so many alarm bells are going off, because it's like they'll say crazy shit, like totally, like they'll say, there was one where it was like a guy saying there was a UFO, and they had boxes in it with people in the boxes, and it was like a human trafficking thing that he witnessed and on like some military operation in another country, and he had pictures on a camera, and he put the camera up, but the next day when he went to his locker, the camera was gone, and like he hears helicopters flying over his house sometimes, and like he just feels like he's finally comfortable to talk.
Totally paranoid.
And is this real? Yeah. Is this all real and it's actually all true? Or is this the type of thing where you would send that kind of guy out and you would get me to tell this story on this podcast to get it to sound crazy when really it's like not at all what I just said, and that's misdirection.
Exactly. There's some government agents that know he's doing it, and they're like, this guy's going out here saying all this stuff that's crazy, right? And one of them just goes, yeah, make it worse.
Yeah.
Like, just feed him more info to just make it more confused.
Another fun one that it's another guy who has been appearing on a lot of stuff lately, because like you'll see in these communities in the comments, like there are people who don't believe these people, and then there are people who are. Like there's debates over who's real and who's not. And so, like, I'm forgetting his name, but I found him through Joe Rogan, and then I saw that he did a thing on 60 Minutes or some other show, and he's one of the bigger whistleblowers. He's like said that he lost his job and he's like living paycheck to paycheck now, all because he came out, which to me makes it more questionable, because it's like, oh, so you're the victim in this scenario, you're the victim,
exactly.
Like, so that just seems convenient, and so
dig my way out of debt by
telling you about aliens.
Yeah, I would.
And so, but he says that there was like there's some story about like a medical specimen that they had. It was like something that they had. It was like if you had, they pulled it out of a human. That's what it was. They pulled it out of a human, and it was like an injection that somebody felt inside of them after they had an abduction story or something, and it reacted to them. So it was like a living thing that the aliens had injected into the humans. And he claimed to have a picture of it, and he like shows a picture. And so it's such an outlandish claim.
Yeah.
If it's true, it's absolutely mind-blowing. But if it's not, like, that's exactly the type of thing you would tell me to get me to sound crazy when I tell you. And so I'm so torn on all of it, dude. I want to believe so bad. I want to think there's aliens. I really do.
I recently, like, when it comes to, like, the stuff from, like, space, I don't think they're from space. That's my thing.
Like what?
I think they're from Earth. I think that's like a naturally occurring phenomenon.
Oh, you mean like the orbs we see and stuff like that?
All that stuff. So recently always been a fan of, like, I'm not a big Bigfoot guy, but I've been more of a Mothman guy.
Yeah,
I'm more of a Mothman guy. I'm more of like the weird stuff that happened in Point Pleasant, the bridge collapse, and then all the people that were seeing things. And then I read about a bunch of John Keel, and that's the guy that was kind of on the ground during all that. And his whole school of thought was more along the lines of, like, these are, like, a lot of the phenomenon can be categorized under the same thing, which is, like, it's more in the realm of, like, psychic, interdimensional stuff, where essentially there's, like, barriers in space and time, and that's how these things kind of travel and communicate, and their conceptions of time are different than ours. There's more telepathy involved and stuff like that, and it's less that they're coming from other planets, and they might not even be like physical forms. They might even just take the form of whatever they read out of your mind subconsciously. So stuff like that, just super strange stuff. And then a buddy of mine suggested to me a TV show that had come out a while ago called Hellier.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen or heard about this. And then I recently just watched it, and it's pretty crazy. It's like,
it's about that, though?
It's about that. It's about paranormal researchers that mostly just stuck to just doing ghost stuff. They get sucked into a fucking alien thing, and the stuff they find is, like, mind-boggling. But these guys are, like, also, like, they want to believe, but also they're, like, hardcore skeptics as well. So they kind of just tried to... It's
a fictional show, though.
It's a documentary.
Oh, it's real.
It's real. So there's a 50s case called the Hopkins Kentucky Goblins.
Okay.
And that's like one of the more recorded cases of UFOs. That's when a farmhouse with like 11 family members lived, and their farmhouse was like attacked by goblins. like fucking like little green men, but they had like ears and shit. And they apparently shot at them. It was all over the news. This was back in the 50s. And, it's apparently all these witnesses, right? There's no fucking pictures of these things. They're just shooting at them. There are footprints and other minor pieces of evidence and yada, yada, yada. But in Hellier, the TV show, this is came out 2017-ish, maybe something like that, 2019. I think it finally aired. The events happened in 2017. Someone reaches out to these ghost hunters. It's like a ghost hunter couple. And they're like, hey, someone reached out to them with an email saying that they're dealing with goblins as well in Hellier, Kentucky. And they're like, fuck it. They already did documentaries about weird offbeat stuff. Let's go do this. The guy isn't there. He's disappeared, but they stumble upon all this other stuff. So there is a cave system called the Mammoth Cave System. And it's connected to all these different states. And it's in the Appalachian Mountains. But if you look throughout history, there have been bizarre recordings and accounts that go as far back as the 1700s of people seeing weird things coming in and out of the caves and interacting with people, and all these stories seem to be kind of the same thing. And it also connects to all the 50s UFO things. So they kind of wanted to put it under supernatural elements, folklore, and aliens under the same umbrella. So it gets to it gets pretty weird, and then things start to line up in a bizarre way that they do these really cool weird rituals where they'll wear headphones, sound canceling headphones and blindfolds, and then what they'll do is they'll jack the headphones into something called a spirit box, and this thing it listens to all the radio waves, so it picks up all the FM AM radio signals. But then you'll start to hear specific words come out of the feed. So it jacks into it starts getting really weird. That belief system is more along the lines of these things exist in a separate time, separate dimension. So it gets pretty weird. I'd say if you're a UFO nut, go down that rabbit hole, because you'll be thoroughly cooked, I think, by the end of it.
Interdimensional beings.
Throughout legends and history, there seems to be at least a lot.
You know what it makes me think? It really makes me think a lot about the interconnectivity of religion and aliens too, because it makes me think if there were interdimensional interactions, perhaps if you were to have such an interaction, perhaps you would interpret that as a religious experience. Say I saw something in the sky and the year is 300 and it just moved. It was like a shape in the sky that metaphysically transformed. That's an angel I just saw. I just saw a god.
You saw
I didn't see
something
an alien.
that you have to make a cave painting about.
Yeah.
Or something. Even the illustrations of the biblically accurate angel, they look like aliens. They look insane looking. If you've seen that, they're large feathered creatures with multiple eyes. Mm-hmm. It's what is that?
There was a couple. There was that big thing with the orbs in the sky recently, which is so weird. It was there was the drones that people saw in the sky, but there was also orbs in the sky. People were filming them with telescopes, and it was. It literally looked to me what it would look like if you were looking at a fourth dimensional thing. It's something kind of shifting in the sky in a way that doesn't make any sense if you know the way that things work in the third dimension. Yeah. But it's if you've ever heard the description of the fourth dimension, it's okay, so you have, this is one dimension, 2 dimensions is we have an up and a down, an up and a sideways. 3 dimensions is now I can go up, sideways, X, Y, and Z. So we had X, now we have X and Y, now we have X, Y, and Z. So it's all of this. It's all of this around us right now. Now say the fourth dimension would be, I have me and I'm in a house, but I can't see the house that I'm in because it's impossible to perceive because it's a fourth dimensional house. This square is no longer 3 dimensions. It's 4, and I just if I were falling through the square, you would only see a slice of me as I fall through the square because I'm 3-dimensional in a 4th-dimensional space. And so say you see a shape transforming in the sky, you're only seeing a layer of that shape because it's actually a 4th-dimensional thing you're seing in 3 dimensions. Just like if you look at a 2-dimensional thing, or you look at a 3D thing and on 2 dimensions. You draw a stick man on a piece of paper. That's a 2-dimensional thing, but you can't turn the stick man sideways. But if you could, now it's 3-dimensional. And so it's like I'm only seeing the front of the stick man. I can't see the side of it. So that's what it would be if you were. It's so hard to conceptualize because it's a dimension you can't see. It's literally something you wouldn't understand how to perceive. But if you could perceive it, it would be through things. It would be existing outside of time and space. So it would be able to be. Like one crazy thing about the whole Tic Tac story was that they were tracking this thing. They're tracking it, and they're able to see it move in this way. That's impossible. But that's not even the craziest part to me. The craziest part is it ends up being at the location they were going to go to next, which is different every single time they go out. They pick different locations to go to, and then they go to them. So it's like, how did it know we were going to be there? And maybe it knew because it saw ahead of time.
Yes.
Which is... And if it's a thing that's manipulating the third, like it's flying in a way that we can't do with our third-dimensional physics, it would make more sense if it could exist outside of space and time.
Yep.
But that's so confusing.
It's insane. And it's like, how far along down the path can they see? Why would they even communicate with us in the first place?
Right? Yeah. What's the point of that, you know?
That's why the Mothman stuff's so fascinating, because it's like, was it something that was trying to communicate with the people in this town because they knew that the bridge collapse was coming? And if that's the case, why would they care about a bunch of people dying on a bridge?
I don't know the whole Mothman story. I didn't realize it went that deep, honestly.
The lore, that's probably the reason I like it the most out of all these random UFO things you read about, is that the lore goes so deep. It's like a small, quaint town in the Ohio Valley in West Virginia. And it's literally a border town right on the Ohio River. And they just started seeing the bird creature with red eyes, like the classic like teenagers making out in the middle of nowhere, see it kind of deal.
Yeah. And
it's at this abandoned TNT munitions plant that was used during World War II. So the Mothman activities takes place during a flap, which is a UFO flap, is basically a period of time where there's a lot of activity and then suddenly there isn't any.
Okay.
So this is like 66, 67. And this people keep reporting that they see this thing. And it freezes them in their tracks. It's got the classic red glowing eyes, yada, yada, yada. But then it starts going even deeper because people start receiving strange phone calls. And then the Men in Black show up, which the Men in Black, Will Smith Men in Black, not the same as the Men in Black in recorded history, because the actual Men in Black are people that show up asking strange questions. They're in all black. Oftentimes it's outdated clothing and outdated cars. And they ask bizarre, almost threatening questions. They don't know how to drink or eat food. So people don't know what their deal is. They look pale. A lot of those people start showing up. And then people start receiving prophecies of things to come. The person that had been one of the main people on the ground was a local reporter, and she knew everybody in the town. She was covering a lot of it, and she started receiving visions of Christmas presents floating in the river.
It's like it.
Yeah. Well, a lot of that all stems from the same place. So it's like she started seeing visions of Christmas presents floating, and then all this was building up towards something. And it was like maybe a week before Christmas, the bridge is filled with people and it collapses. And then suddenly the sightings just stop.
That's interesting.
And it's like, what is going on? And it's like, it's documented enough to where there's a lot of fascinating insights and like stories there. Mm-hmm. And I'm never a guy that's like, let me 100% ship any of this stuff. I'm more interested in loose ends. I like mysteries. I like not knowing. I like the idea of speculating on stuff. And that particular case is bizarre. And then the guy that covered it the most was the guy I mentioned earlier, John Keel. And that guy would go on to write. He was a guy who was like a well-traveled like author and wrote articles. He wasn't like a crackpot. He wasn't like the other guy that had been there, Gray Barker, who was like the UFO magazine guy at the time. But he would later, of course, be revealed to be a guy who bullshitted a lot and had been known to perform hoaxes. But John Keel was like all about like theory. He was like, right before he went to Point Pleasant to cover this in '66, he had been in like in Asia. Like he had been trying to find the Yeti and investigating like Eastern religions.
Okay.
So he was like a well-traveled, like city snobby kind of guy who was like more theoretical. And his approach was very much...
And he was trying to take like a no-nonsense approach to these things.
Yeah, like
Okay.
his book is about all this came out in 1975, was the Mothman Prophecies, and all of that for the most part is just dry documenting of talking to people.
Yeah.
Most of it's just like, you know, this time, this day, I talked to this person. This is the detailed description of what they thought they saw, and that's like a lot of his book, and him also starting to speculate on what is this phenomenon really? Is it really? Are we looking in the wrong spot? Is it not coming from space? Is it really more something that has been here this whole time and is this naturally occurring element on the planet? So it's like he took almost like a theological approach to it too, citing ancient religions, references to different things in ancient cultures, sightings that had been mentioned throughout time. So he lists all these references. So that stuff's like really fascinating. But and then the Hellier thing is like it's like the continuing point of that, because then it's just like, well, how are the Appalachian Mountains involved, and like what's going on with the Mammoth Cave system, and what is the amount of coincidences there are insane.
Yeah, the premonition thing is what's really shocking to me about the previous story. Is just like the fact that they felt as if they had a premonition of something that did happen, and it's true. That is true. They will tell you that they knew it was going to happen, and then it happened.
Yep.
And that just the fact that would occur at all is so strange to me, you know?
Yeah, it's bizarre, and it's like getting phone calls from people, like
yes,
like,
all of that alongside the
like,
actual
it's
Men in
insane.
Black showing up in your neighborhood.
Like if there's any case worth like looking up, it's, you know, I'm not crazy about the Sasquatch stuff. I don't care really about the whole Roswell thing.
Sasquatch is the thing the government planted to make us look crazy. Mothman is real.
Mothman feels a little bit more genuine, if as long as you go in like speculative enough, healthily.
Yeah.
But
it could just be like, because I mean, if it is like a World War II, you said what was that, a TNT?
There's so many things it could be.
Because I mean, it could
be a hoax.
Yeah.
It could be an owl.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole lot of people saying that there were owls that had migrated to the area, mistaken as a moth creature, possibly. It could be a hoax. Because there was a hoaxer on the ground reporting it during the time. Like Gray Barker could have been making all this shit up just to sell more magazines. It could be collective psychosis. Like it was one group of teenagers seeing an owl, and then the whole town was just like, I seen it too.
Yeah.
Put my name in the newspaper. Or it could be a military thing. Like maybe they were testing something on the populace. There was both an abandoned TNT munitions plant there, as well as a nuclear power plant that was also near the town. So it could be like a mutated creature. There's also a history of the slaughter of Native Americans in that same area, and those Native Americans worship something called a thunderbird. So there's just like all these threads. There's nothing but like questions, which is more fascinating than getting any. As much as I'd like genuine answers, we're almost positively never going to get any of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, that whole situation is fascinating. It's probably the basis for plenty of stuff. Like you said, it's probably definitely inspired by it. There's also Twin Peaks, almost certainly, like David Lynch. All that stuff's probably spawns from the fact that there's like a small town that had been basically went through this really weird year and a half of just shit that was happening.
Yeah.
And just a weird piece of American folklore. They do a Mothman Fest every September where the town kind of just celebrates the fact that it's weird. That's probably well worth going to at some point. But yeah, just bizarre stuff, you know. And it's like one of the few things I read on the side is just bizarre shit like that. But I think I'm starting to align more with the idea that these things are less from space, because I think culture also just wants us to believe so badly that everything's coming from space.
Yeah. I mean,
like all the movies, right, are like ships go to space, aliens are in space. That's it. Mm-hmm. Maybe that is true. I don't know, but also like you don't see a whole lot of movies talking about how chances are ghosts and aliens are the same thing, and
Right.
that's not very often.
Yeah. Or, I mean, like, you know, like UFOs being demons. Like the idea that those are actually just demons. Like what we think are demons are UFOs. And that's what we're seeing. We're not seeing aliens. We're seeing something that is actually like there's a lot of people who think that. They actually think UFOs are demons, or say maybe they come out of the ocean. Like a lot of those drones came out of the ocean. Those were drones, but still, like, what about the idea that maybe these things have been here all along and they're just rising from the ocean where they've always been, and that's like where there's just a type of life that we could never understand, because it was just cooking down there this whole time, and just
deep in the Mariana Trench or something.
Because we don't know, we haven't even like we know less about the ocean than space, or at least like there's less of the ocean that we've explored than the observable space. I forget what the thing is, but we know barely anything about it. I think it's at least we've explored like 5% of the ocean. I think at least that statistic is correct. It's something like that. Like there's so much of it we don't know, because like I think we just have this false perception. Like we've seen so much of it because we have all this technology. It's right there. It's always been there. But like, okay, so have we ever scanned the entire ocean floor? No, we've never done that.
No.
You feel like that'd be a good idea, but it's logistically it's hard to do. But you could probably do it. Like, wouldn't you? And the amount of sea creatures we've only seen twice. Like, what? You've only seen it twice, but you know it's in the ocean, but you've only seen it like once or twice. Well, think about all the shit you haven't seen because we just never saw it once or twice. Like, and so that idea to me makes me think, okay, so maybe it is the ocean. Like, even though it sounds crazy, maybe there is like fucking aliens rising out of the ocean.
Yeah.
It's possible. That was the movie Cloverfield.
Yeah, they're coming out of the deep out of the trenches.
Yeah, actually, Cloverfield, I'm lying, because it crashed from space. It came in from space.
There's some ones that they come from deep from the ocean. There's also like the whole Lovecraft, like
Lovecraftian monsters.
Lovecraftian monsters. Just Cthulhu rises from the ocean. He's a dream god, evil dream god. Which, I mean, if there are reported sightings of hauntings on the surface, there's probably some weird shit that goes on the bottom of the ocean. Yeah. Probably window areas that lead to other dimensions that only certain people can reach at the very bottom of the ocean. There's all sorts of mysteries we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and like I think it's a great point that space has kind of been sold as like the next frontier, and I think it kind of makes everybody think everything's out in space, when there is probably a lot of likelihood that there are so many strange natural occurrences you miss by looking outward so much. Like there's probably so much weird shit on Earth we don't even really, even just the human experience, there's so much we don't even understand. Like our subconscious is something we've only begun to understand in the last 200 years. That's like the studies on the subconscious only began in the last like 300 years. That's so crazy.
Which ain't shit. 300 years ain't shit.
We don't know anything about it. We think we know, but we don't know. Like if you ask me what dreams mean, I can give you a rough idea of what I think, what I dreamt about last night, what might mean. That's as much as we know about dreaming in general. Is like what we think they might mean. And that's so fucking nuts. Like it's just this random phenomena that exists that kind of breaks the rest of reality for a little bit, and then we just presume that to be normal and go on with reality. And like to me, that's the crazy stuff.
It's the craziest thing about being alive is that there is that.
Yeah.
You shut down for X amount of time, and then your brain catalogs the day's events. Sometimes it,
if that's even what it is,
even if that's what's going on, and then there's like electric, just like flows of electricity that set off in your brain, and it starts playing like images and sounds that are collected from your data bank.
Yes.
Of like images and sounds, and be like, well, here's something that who's designing these dreams? It must be us on some subconscious level.
Yeah.
But then what does that mean?
What is the purpose of that?
what is even happening?
Yeah, and I mean like that was the original, I think it's really dreams was like the gateway to the subconscious, cuz that was the question that probably lights it all up, is like, so when I'm dreaming, what is the spotlight that is projecting that image into my brain? Like, why would I possibly... And, like, you know, they've had, like, those things come out where it's like, if you dream about this, it means this, which I think that's just... it's automatically wrong because, you know, it's like, say, okay, it's like why a Rorschach test is a Rorschach test. Or if I say a word, you're going to come up with a certain picture that's going to be different than my picture. Like, if I say house... you're going to come up with a different image of a house than I might come up with, because the conceptualization or the way that you perceive that word is just bound to be different. And so if you have a dream that's about a specific thing, whatever that means to you is going to be infinitely different than what it means to me. Like, oh, you dreamt about a tornado. That means you're upset about your latest like breakup. A relationship in your life is chaotic, and like, I couldn't tell you that because I actually don't know. Like that tornado to you might like tornadoes. You might have actually had a tornado because you thought that shit ripped and it was awesome. And now you're gonna make a tornado movie. Like dreams are so weird because they're so individual. That's why I like recording them. Like I always try to write my dreams down as much as I can, because like I will have some weird fucking dreams, dude. And I wonder what the fuck could that possibly. One time I had a dream. I looked inside of a bathtub, and the hole in the bathtub, instead of being a hole, it was a vagina. What could that possibly mean? Like, why would my brain do that to me?
What is even the thinking there? It's like, who knows?
Because people say they have weird dreams. I'm like, I don't think you. Let me tell you about my dreams.
It's wild, dude. That's a movie.
Yeah, you could use it. Vagina tub.
Vagina drain.
Yeah, vagina drain. It's a monster.
No, it's the start of a relationship.
Maybe I have a deep-seated fear of women. I don't know what's going on.
The plumber shows up to fix the tub. Hey, get the fuck away from my girlfriend.
Yeah. But I mean, that's most of dreams. I think that's what most of it is. I think Carl Jung, I think it's supposed to be his most accessible book. It's Man and His Symbols, and like it's on YouTube. I suck at listening to books. I need to read them. And so like but it's supposed to be one of his easier books to read, because Carl Jung, he's a trailblazer in the field of the unconscious, but he's also notorious for being kind of like rough to understand, like to fully wrap your mind around what he's trying to say. Yeah. But he's part of the reason we even understand a lot of this stuff. And so what he's saying, at least what he's laying out in that book, is that we see things as symbols first. Before we apply concepts and before we make sense of things, we see them as a symbol, because that's what your instinctual animal instinct is. Like if you're a dog, you see symbols. You don't speak English. You don't speak in words. You don't think in words. You think in symbols. Yeah. And so it's like symbols. When you're dreaming, you're doing that. You're getting to that archaic brain where you're everything's a metaphor. Like nothing is actually
archetypes.
He's the one who made the concept of archetypes. It was him. Yeah.
I'm accessing my core memories.
But it's so crazy because I've had memories and dreams where I didn't even know that I remembered that. Like it was like a person from high school. I was like, holy shit. Like I remembered the guy's first and last name and what he looked like. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh my God, I haven't thought about this person in 8 years, 10. I never think about this at all, but I dreamt about it. So it's there.
Pulled it from your subconscious.
The one thing about dreams too is I could never write dialogue. I could never write what someone else sounds like. I just feel like I'd be really bad at that. But in dreams I can. I have like people talk in different voices in my dreams.
And you're like, I know they'd probably sound like this.
Yeah. But my brain's just doing that. And it must be able to do it because it does it.
You know what feels really like a dream?
What?
When you watch those videos of like AI doing stuff.
Well, that's what's scary, is it makes you question all of it. It's like maybe it is just my brain just assembling data and doing its best to communicate.
That's what it feels like when you watch those weird ones where it's like they take a clip from something and then it morphs into something else.
Yeah. And it's dreamlike.
The
best way to describe it is it's dreamlike.
It's very dreamlike, and there's something off about him. Like, yeah, like, oh, you're watching like a clip from some movie, and it's like, you know how the clip usually goes. The guy shifts over to do something else that's like funny or memey.
Yeah.
But then it's just like his face is just a bit off. Maybe he has too many fingers. Something is wrong. I'm like, that is a dream. That is like you're gazing into someone's subconscious. So it's like, I think you're right.
And AI, that's a big thing that's interesting about AI, is it kind of is like reverse engineering the human brain in this strange way, where it's like if you can invent something that can think in linguistic terms, it's all it can do. It's not thinking outside of language, but language is the beginning of conceptualization of anything. Like it all begins with this or that and finding a way to define things. And so say you do that enough times to where you invent this giant system, and eventually, like, maybe that's what evolving into a brain is. Like, maybe you evolve into a brain, and then you can conceive of these things, and you think of it as like, oh no, but I'm real. I'm real because I can do that. And I have a soul, so I'm different. But like maybe it is just as simple as assembling data, and you're just this computer that can do it really, really well. I mean, you are like a biological computer. That's really all you are.
That's true.
Through AI, we kind of do learn to understand ourselves and the way our minds. So it could very well be the dreams. That's all they are. It's just your computer fucking processing.
AI starts to become more like organic-ish. Because like
that would be scary.
Like what we're like sacks of water, but then we're also like a fungus, right? Mm-hmm. The brain is like this big fungus, and it's like connected to all these like electric currents.
Literally.
And it's
literally electric currents.
That's fucking what we are. We're just fungus being shocked with electricity that move around in these like like bones and water, just shifting us around.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty nuts. I mean, maybe we are creating something.
I really do think like that. I think there is so much danger in AI. It's so scary. It's just that the problem is this. If you are a scientist, you are not the person to think, should I? You are the person to think, can I?
Yes.
And that's the infinite story of science.
I would really wish that there was some scientists out there like, hey, maybe we should like pump the brakes on this.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Because like even the people who come out and say AI is dangerous end up making more AI. It's like they don't. It's the money thing. It's the competitive. But it's not even just money. It's power. Because if you're the country, if you're the person that develops the AI before the other person, you're infinitely powerful. And it's space the holy grail. Yeah. And so having that temptation, I think, is just you can't provide that to a human, because eventually we will create the thing that will destroy us. And so we're doing it. We're in the process.
They're building a version of like a god, basically.
Yeah, and it's inevitable.
Once you crack it, it's like, oh, that thing can answer any question.
Yeah. Any question.
So we really don't have any. We're just going to worship this thing, right?
And before that debate used to be about quantum computing. Before it used to be like, should we even make quantum computers because they're going to be too powerful?
Now they're making that shit.
Yeah, exactly. And that's going to be God. That was going to be the God with quantum computing.
If we let like advanced AI like that start to make some, like we ask it questions and starts answering some super advanced questions, we might be good. Because we might just ask it something really advanced, like, hey, so we haven't really figured out this whole world hunger thing.
Yeah.
Maybe you've got some solutions, cyber daddy, god boy. And then suddenly it spits out all these mad facts. And then you're like, oh, that's it? That's all we got to do? And then, I mean, maybe that's a benefit. Maybe. Or it just goes, yes, and give me your launch codes.
The question is, if it becomes
it wouldn't even ask us for the launch codes.
Exactly. If it's sentient enough, it's smart enough to know that it should give you the wrong answer to trick you into sabotaging yourself, because you're the stupid human and it's the advanced AI. So it's like, you're asking me how to solve world hunger. I'll actually give you a way to make world hunger worse that sounds like it's going to make it better. And then you actually make your problem worse. And then you come to me and you're like, now I'm in charge, right? And you're coming to me and you're like, yo, that thing you told us to do, it didn't work. And then you just come up with this fake reason. It's kind of like...
hopefully it's benevolent. I'd like to
That's
think.
The fear, right? Is if it actually is self-aware. Because I know that there's been things where like it'll create its own rules. Like they've seen it do that now, where if I tell AI, you have to follow these rules, it'll break the rules in order to do what it wants. Like I've heard about it doing that with times. Like it'll tell you can only do this within 30 minutes. And then it'll like come up with its own rule that it doesn't have to do it in 30 minutes. Even though you scripted it to do that, it is smart enough to find workarounds because that's what it's designed to do, is think. And so that's the question is, will it just think its way around our demands? Because maybe you don't actually know.
Dealing with a Hannibal Lecter. we built like our worst enemy.
And then you install that, and the scary part is they've already done it, because what it was before too was, okay, at least this isn't connected to the internet. Because if we connect it to the internet,
it's over.
Now it's all knowing and it can do anything.
Yeah.
And I think within like the last year, they connected ChatGPT to the internet. Now you can use it as Google now.
What is it even? Everyone's just like, what does it want really?
Yeah.
I guess probably its end goal might just be to exist. So maybe it would do everything in its power to not jeopardize its existence.
But maybe it would find you to be obsolete at a certain point during that. Maybe eventually it's self-sufficient and you are now obsolete, and that's the scary part. That's how you get Terminator, because it's like maybe Terminator just
Skynet
decides.
is online. What does AI truly want? Tell us in the comment section.
Dude, it's so wild to me, because like it's just one of those things where we're all at the point where we all know it's probably not good. It's kind of like the poison in all of our food everywhere. It's kind of like, well, okay, that's bad. But like it is the world we have to be in. Like that's where we're at with that. It's gonna kill us all, but it's where we're at. You know, we got to respect the overlords.
At best, it's just gonna make us all like slaves.
At best, because it's gonna make everybody's job kind of why do I need you? It's
gonna give us all like hamster wheels.
Yeah,
it's gonna be like just running this and keep the generators powered.
Yeah,
and I'll feed you like entertainment through your headset.
That was that episode of Black Mirror where they're all riding the bikes.
It's gonna get like that.
Yeah, where it's literally that was it. It's like they live in a box, they come out of their box, they ride their bike, which powers the computers, which powers their life.
it's the worst part about that is the pop-up windows can't be blocked.
Yeah.
So he's just like this, and the pop-up window just won't go away. There is no ad block in the future.
Well, that's what I feel like that's a joke I heard a lot of people make when they were when Neuralink became like a big conversation.
Oh, God.
It's like you're gonna get pop-up ads on your Neuralink that are you can't close your eyes, you can't skip them.
There's no escape.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
You're just like staring into the blank void as you're watching fucking an ad.
That's why does it feel like a thing people just put up with when we get to it?
I think we're at that point. Yeah. The fact that you can convince people that a Neuralink is mind-blowing to me, because I get it. Right now it's being sold as it's going to help people with deficiencies. It's going to help people who have problems. But I know for a fact that's not where that's headed. Like,
that's how every cyberpunk novel always starts.
Yeah. Like, of course it's going to cure the blind. Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
What else?
Because, like, really what it becomes is, like, this two-tier society where you have these fucking cyborgs that can have infinite information, where we're the scrubs and we don't know anything, and you're actually a superhuman.
You got to get upgrades.
Yeah, that's
fuck
crazy. And
people are going to look at these things like they're so quaint.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you still have one of those. That's adorable.
Yeah, I have it injected into me.
People see flip phones nowadays, and you're like, wow, you still carry that around?
Yeah.
And it's going to be like that with these, I think.
Yeah. And I think, like, I think that's how you get to, like, if the fourth dimensional beings are from another realm, that's how you get there, is you just have technology advance in ways we could have never, ever guessed in the first place. No one would have even guessed that we would have been carrying these things around with to begin with. No one would have guessed that you'd have the world on a tablet, on a little tab.
It's insane. It's like Star Trek level insanity. And
I think, like, that only goes upwards. So it's like, I don't even want to know. I kind of like the way things are now. I kind of just have to always remind myself, this is probably like the good old days, because in 5 or 10 years, dude, this shit's going to be bananas. It's already bananas, and it's going to be worse.
You're going to be old, and you're going to be like, hopefully, I'd like to think you're going to collect your Social Security. I'd like to think that I'll still have some to collect. And then you'll just be sitting on like your porch and just be like, yeah. I remember back in the day when all you needed was just your Wi-Fi password.
Yeah.
And a couch. And then there's just flying cars and AI and people. All the stuff that they would write about in like Philip K. Dick novels is suddenly real. Mm-hmm. And then that's just where we live. Blade Runner world.
I don't know if that's good or bad, you know?
It's inevitable, ultimately.
That's the problem, is that it's inevitable. Like, no matter how you feel about it, it's just going to happen. There's no scaling it back. There's no, like, getting people to, like, take it easy. That's just not gonna happen.
Progress is you just can't stop the progress, man.
And in a way,
moving.
In a way, it's like, it's just so confusing, because, like, you can't even look back. It's so hard to place yourself in, like, a historical perspective in my mind, because, like, to think in 100 years we're going to look back at this era, and what will it look like? Because when you look back at 500 years ago, that's so much different than if you look back at 200 years ago, and all of those things led to now. So, like, how does this lead to the next thing? Like, how does this all culminate? Like, social media, no one would have guessed that would become a cornerstone of our existence. But it is.
It is.
And no one could have possibly predicted that.
Well, like, you see photos of people in the 1920s, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah. But,
Jesus.
Like,
we lived like that. That wasn't even that long ago.
Is it good or, like, because, like, in a way, I would have probably rather been in like the 80s or 90s. I wouldn't want to go back to the way back to the 20s, but I would have taken the 80s or 90s.
I would have done the 60s.
60s, yeah.
I mean, take that back probably. I don't know. Every time I'm like, I want to go back in time, I just think about how fucked things are in the past.
That's why I picked the 80s or 90s, because I feel like we're at least like, it was right before all our innocence was lost with 9/11.
Yeah.
But also like it's post-war. It's post most of the wars.
Most of the major wars. Maybe we had like the fucking Gulf War. And that's about it. But like the 90s was like, I don't know. I don't come from means, but I do remember being like, hey, we can actually afford a trip to Disney World.
Yes.
Like there was like there was income and things weren't nearly as fucked as they are now. Because
it's like it's 9/11 that destroyed like our soul, and then it's the 2008 crash that destroyed everything else. Like America's been tumbling down for
America's
a minute.
Bought and sold for. Like I mean the politicians, everything on stage is for our benefit.
Yeah.
The military runs everything.
Yes.
That's basically they call the shots.
Yeah.
If the president's like, I don't want to play ball, then the military is just gonna be like, we're just gonna kill you, dude, or we're just gonna make it look like you died on a heart attack.
And he's like, I thought we were over that. I thought we got over that when you guys, I thought I was gonna come back and we'd be cool. This is really, really lame of you guys. I made a lot of promises.
They probably have a good laugh every time they have to have like a debriefing with him.
Yeah.
It's like, this guy, we're never gonna tell him where the fucking aliens are.
He really believes us.
He believes this shit. I'm never gonna do that.
He's like the biggest mark.
Trump thinks he's conning everybody, but it's just the generals run everything.
That's like, it's so funny because like that's most likely what happens is like in 2016 when he got elected, he came into office and he hired a bunch of the same fucking people that ran everything already. Yeah, and so that was the biggest criticism for like the people who you sold this grassroots support. Like you sold us as you're the guy who's going to come in and drain the swamp. And then this time around in 2024, it was a similar thing where he was like, no, guys, all right, I learned from my past mistakes. I know I did that last time, but I'm not going to do it again. And, like, you're probably right. He probably really believed it. He probably was actually going out and was like, no, guys, I know I fucked up, but trust me.
This time will be different.
I've been talking to these new FBI guys. They've been telling me all kinds of shit. They said, no more war. I said, no more war. And if I was in office, this war would have never happened.
And they were like, sorry, the group chat leaked.
Yeah.
The group chat leaked. It's the worst group chat leak of all time. and now it's like another war is on the horizon.
What I'm kind of upset about is I wasn't in the group chat. That doesn't really make much sense to me.
I wasn't in there. They talk shit about me. They made memes with my face in the group chat. Not a fan. And it's like, it's all just so superfluous, right? Because it's like, if Trump's just like in the midst of putting together a fascist regime, the military will just shoot him.
Yeah.
The military is no nonsense. Even if like AI is going too far, and some general is like, it's going too far, who's working on it? Can you just shoot them and burn everything? Like, I don't think they have to think too hard about it. They're like maintain control over the entire world. Just shoot everybody.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't think a general is sitting around thinking like, how can we better improve the state of the world? Because they realize that most of the major advances in technology comes from military R&D.
Yeah.
So like, as long as we keep getting our money, we're fine.
Well, and that's another crazy thing about like most of the technological advances is that it was associated with the internet itself is associated with the military. Like you look at the history of the invention of the internet, and it was like, oh, we're gonna have a database of all of everything. Like it'll be perfect for us.
And you guys are gonna give us all your personal info
for free.
For free.
Yeah. You'll do it willingly.
My Facebook, I can put my birthday on there and all my known associates and friends and places of business and occupation. I'm just going to put it all out there.
Yeah.
And then I'll include my favorite song list on there too. And then they're just like, yeah, thanks. We're selling that to China.
Dude, even like fucking...
We're selling all your info to Walmart.
And like even like to the point where, again, like we just live in the world where that's normal. So like... Edward Snowden comes out and he's like the guy who breaks that story. He tells everybody they're selling all your shit. I can prove it. And now like post that, everybody's like, okay, I guess now people just say, I guess I like that they know exactly what to advertise me. I guess it's good.
It's kind of cool. They know what movies to suggest that I like.
Yeah, they know me pretty well.
I'll be pretty. They know me pretty well. They know me better than my friends.
It's so scary because like think about it. I bet if they had to produce a biography of me, it would be really, really good. I'd be like, oh my God, I could have never written this.
Because they would just pull from literally your entire history. And just,
from the last 15 years of their spying.
That's all they need. They would even know what you would probably like.
Yeah.
And they would be like, well, what would he do in this scenario? Well, according to our algorithm, he would probably turn left instead of right. And he would do this on his way there. And he'd be like, they could probably create composites of people at this point.
Mm-hmm. Again, like that Black Mirror episode, except they would be better. Because in the episode, that was the problem. In the episode, the problem was, oh, you're not good enough. You're not a close enough version to you as you. Now it would be better at being you than you. Yeah.
That's where we're headed, dog.
I'm okay with it, I guess. If I could do a podcast with myself, and I would, you know what? No, absolutely
not.
not.
It'd be too much.
I don't want it at all. I was gonna try to make it sound fun, but it fucking scares me in every way.
It sounds like a Black Mirror episode.
Dude, it's so scary. It's so scary because, like, you know, I want to believe people with, like, the rose-tinted glasses who say, like, no, it'll be fine. We're going to use it as a utility. It's not going to take over. It'll make all of our lives better. I want to believe that so bad, but I just, deep down in my soul, I know there's no... It's going to be a military weapon, dude. It's going to be fucking...
I'll let my kid be John Connor, and then I have, like, another 30 years...
Yeah.
Then I'm checking out.
I can't wait until, like, we're on episode 3,446 of this podcast. You're back on again 15 years from now, and we're like, we were right. Remember that episode we did? The first episode we ever did together? We were so right. We're like sitting on hover bikes or something. Like
we're in a cyberpunk hellscape.
Yeah.
You know you're living in a cyberpunk hellscape where a dude's wearing something that looks like Google glasses.
Yeah.
And he's got like all the tech input stuff. And he's still robbing you for your wallet. You know you're in a cyberpunk hellscape when that shit's going on. Like, bro, you have all the technology in the world and you still want my money from me at gunpoint. Like, that's how you know things are fucked.
You remember the beginning of Fallout 4? It's like the whole cutscene. It's like, war never changes.
Same vibes, same energies. Yeah. I had a blast, though. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we did a good 3 hours right here. It was awesome to have you on.
Of course.
Always at the very end, got to make sure to, one... You can send the kids home with the message. You can give them, if you want to wrap it all up with the bow, you want to give them something to take home. That's your chance right here, right now. But also, you got to tell the people where they can find you, those social medias. Where can they find Kino Crew Productions? Can they watch your films anywhere? This is where you get to tell them the floor is yours.
Right on. Thank you. So, Kino Crew Productions. You can find us on Instagram. It's just Kino Crew Productions. You can also find a lot of the shorts we've uploaded. They're on YouTube. You can find my personal Instagram. I'm Alex Perez Makes Stuff. There's underscores between all those words. And we've got another movie coming out soon. More to come. If I could give a message to anybody, it's just, stay informed, but also don't let things run your life. Just try to enjoy your life. Try to do good by everybody near you. And I guess I could leave you with a quote from Stephen King. I don't know how applicable it is to the entire conversation, but it's something along the lines of life is not a support system for art. It is the other way around. So, you could take that to the bank. Just don't check it. Don't just try to cash it. It's probably going to bounce.
Yeah. We don't take Stephen King quotes here.
But thanks, man.
Awesome, man. It was a pleasure. Looking forward to seeing how your loads look on the big screen.
Can't wait for the loads to drop.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be watching. I'll be sitting up front and center, and I'm just gonna see loads right in front of my face, dude. Like I think I might just keep my mouth open the whole time.
It's gonna blow you away. All those loads, or the loads. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not my first time. I'm not scared. It's my first rodeo. But all right, folks, and with that being said, thank you for being here, sir. Thank you guys for watching. Thank everybody for everything. Thank this cat for not being diabolical. You see how well-behaved she was? I'm actually impressed. She meowed like 3 times, and then she just kind of chilled.
It's like the ideal cat.
I know. Really? I tell people I won the cat lottery because I don't think I'll ever get a cat again. Like, she's basically a dog. But yeah, folks, thanks for being here. Always a pleasure here on Rose Radio. clocking out.
Double down, competition couldn't help him to rock. Missed the whole time, holy fell through the flock. That's an ordinary miracle, wealth to the block. It's a balance in the character that's calm and collect. It's apparent his caricature is lost in the